Good day, everyone. This is the Concept Academy. We welcome you to our webinar on biochemistry, USMLE Step 1. As we always say, we are not in any way projecting ourselves as the specialist of the field. We are only trying to help. So if at all you expect us to say one or two things in a particular way, and we are not saying it that way, please forgive us. We are not the experts. We are just trying to help. But I can promise you, with us, you are going to see the simplicity of medicine. Okay, before we start today, I love to clear misconceptions with respect to USMLE. Not all, but just for you to have an idea of the misconceptions you may be having. You do not need to read a lot for USMLE. So once you realize that you are reading a lot, we actually feel you are already approaching it in a wrong way. So another important point for you to note is that you don't need long hours of reading, which I think is in a way similar to the first point. You don't need long hours of reading. If you have 2 hours and you are very consistent with the 2 hours, just continue with it. The result you are going to get will be quite amazing. But some people will have they will read 6 hours today, then they read 7 hours tomorrow, they read 1 hour next tomorrow. So that's erratic hours of reading most of the time give bad results. So if it's just 1 hour you have, just stick with the 1 hour and you are going to see the magic. So you don't need, so if you have a friend that is reading, always reading for like maybe 6 hours, and you can only afford to read for 3 hours, your result is most likely going to be amazing. Then that you need to be the best before you get the best out of USMLE is a lie. As a matter of fact, USMLE is supposed to be an exam for average student. US is not looking for the best, basically. They just need the people that are ready to learn. So once you are teachable, then US is a very good place to be or to go. So you don't need to be the best. Some people also combine a lot of materials. So the lower the number of the material you use to prepare, the better your result. Let me put it that way. Because once you find yourself in that position where you are combining a lot of materials, you are most likely going to have your examination being prolonged, and you will start accumulating unnecessary points that are just jargons for the exam. So just choose 1 or 2 materials and just stick with them. You are more than okay. A very good material to use is first aid. So if I thought you are going to add any other material to it, that's fine. First aid, U-word. First aid, U-word. Yeah, we know that first aid, even I also experienced the same thing. First aid, the way it's written, you might just be wondering, what are they going to test here? What are they going to ask here? And the likes. And that is where the Concept Academy is going to come in. So we are going to see what we will do today and see the power of first aid in the preparation for the exam. Yeah, you have all manner of materials flying around. You just need to be very careful. So they are quite enticing in a way, but at the same time, just pick your first aid and go through it page by page. For step 1, step 2, and 3, you will be very fine. Then I need to have high scores. Okay, before that, I need to solve all questions. That's another lie. You don't need to solve all questions before you have the guarantee that you are going to pass. All you need, basically, is just to solve a reasonable amount of questions. So not all. Some people only solve like maybe 20-30% of U-word. and they are fine, they pass. Why some people just sit down, they were just solving a lot of you or this one, that one, and they actually end up failing. So it's not compulsory that you must solve all the questions. So these are just a lot of misconceptions flying around, that are you solving questions, are you solving questions, like, in fact. Then some people believe that when they are solving questions, they must be having high scores. Like you solve 40 questions, you are getting 30 something. When they are saying that, that's when they know that they will pass. That's another lie. You can just be scoring 20, let me say 25, 26, 27. That's just your range and the likes, and you will still pass, because those questions you are solving, they are only trying to give you the impression of how the exam look like. Some people cram questions and you are solving questions with them, and the next thing you see is that they are just saying the answer is B, the answer is A. Ask them for the reason, they can tell you. So it's not about just I'm solving, I'm getting 30 something, I'm getting 38, 39. So these are all misconceptions, don't fall for them. So if you solve questions and you reason, you think along the question, and you get like 25 or so very correctly, so you are most likely going to pass. Then you need to be thinking in a positive realm. Like those questions you got while solving the questions, they might just be the same questions, or so the concept that your questions with respect to that system will revolve around. And because you miss some questions, you now want to kill yourself. Who told you that those questions you missed, they are the one they will ask you? And why are you not thinking that the ones you got, that's where your question will come from? So think in positive and think very simply. Then I need high scores to match. That's another lie. You don't need high score to match. Oh, no, you don't need all those bullshit. All you need is sharp pass. So when they bring it down that you just need to pass one, two, apply for your matching. Why are you trying to raise the standard? Why are you trying to raise the bar? So just write the exam, and you are okay. Just write, pass, and with respect to step two, just pass. If they say the pass mark is 210, and you can go above that, they say the pass mark is 220, and even if you get 225, you are most likely going to match. You may be making the mistake of waiting till the time you are going to be saying that, okay, I wrote my exam, I got 270 something. When you prolong your preparation, the possibility of your matching actually becomes very slim. So you may match with 229, 230, 240. If you prolong it that much, you might not even really match with your 260, 270. So just quickly write it and get out of the system. That's just the mindset. It's not about, then you are not going to feel ready enough before you go and write the exam. Some people will call and they will say, I want to be ready. I just want to be ready. Keep dancing to your own tune. You won't be ready. Even those that wrote the exam, they were not ready. You just need to go, just enter. I just want to have an idea of the questions they will ask me. Who told you that those that wrote the exam, they had the idea of the questions they were asked? You don't know. You won't know. You won't know the questions you will be tested on. In fact, when you are picking your answers, you are most likely just going to be picking, and you come out of the exam, you become sober. The same God you were initially saying it doesn't matter, you start praying fervently and say, God, have mercy on me. And that is actually the experience. Do you get me? So you will never be ready. Just prepare. If it's just within 3 months or so, enter into the exam and go and write it. Then you need to limit the quantity of information you take into the exam, so that you don't start becoming confused. I will always emphasize that. I just want to know there are 5 differentials of this. Please, once you see this and this in the exam, please just go towards this. Whichever bias you want to call that one, shall go take that bias into the exam. You are most likely going to be correct. Do you get me? Instead of you saying that when I see this, it could have been this, it could also be this, it could also be that. That is where your headaches are coming from. Simplify the exam for yourself. Then when you are solving questions, don't be afraid to mix questions. Mixing question is not a disease. It's not abnormal. That you mix some questions does not mean you don't know. Possibly you do not think deep a bit or a bit enough with respect to that question. If you were actually calmer, possibly you will have gotten the question. So you don't need to, once you miss question, it doesn't mean that you are not ready. So that's another thing. Be bold to think. You need to be very bold. The exam is all about thinking. It's not about stuff. It's not a syndromic exam that, okay, the more the syndromes I could cram, the better your chance of passing. That is another lie. So it's not a syndromic exam. Do you know that if we just say that this is a gathering for, let me say, 100 level or let me say 300 level medical student or something, and everybody here, you are already doctors, and you come down to this place, I just throw a question at you. Do you know you are most likely going to reason the question out and just, the answer should be, hey. And that is actually, but because they label it USMLE does not mean that your thinking you must be able to think in a professoric realm. No, that is a lie. It's just simple thinking. Just think simply. And once you get into an exam, you realize that you're already thinking so deep. You are most likely going to miss that question. That question is simple. You are just thinking in another way. So start applying all these principles. You get into you are solving a question and you realize that you are confused. Do I pick urinary tract infection or just a cancer? Is it this? Is it that? But they say this patient is febrile now. Why not just think and just say possibly it's urinary tract infection? You are most likely going to be correct before you start saying that, hey, this one is there, that one is there. And you start thinking and you start saying it could be. Once you start thinking so deeply and you realize that you yourself, you start glorying in the fact that I'm thinking about this differential, that no, you are most likely going to get that question wrong. And the way it will happen is that when you check your answer, you will now realize that it's actually a urinary tract infection, and I'm just thinking about another thing. It says the patient is febrile, and that is how it is. Think simply. At the same time, make sure you think. Feel free to make mistake. Don't be afraid of making mistake. The reason why so many people delay their exam is that they are afraid of making mistake. They just don't want to fail. Most of the time, what you are afraid of becomes your reality. I don't want to fail. You end up failing. But you realize that people that are not afraid of failing, they actually end up passing. People that are not afraid of death, they live long. People that are afraid of death, most of the time, they die young. Don't be afraid. Just go and face it. You want to write your exam in the next 2 months. Prepare towards that 2 months. Any level your preparation gets to, just go into the exam and just say, bring it, let me think. I don't like microbiology. I hate it with passion. I just hate it. I just don't like it. Those organisms and the way they fly around and all manner of stuff. I don't really like it. When I was writing my exam, I didn't even really bother to read it. I just enter. I just enter like that. And we're bringing them and this and that. There are some basic organisms you just want to know. When they say granuloma formation, okay, I hope it's not this. I hope it's not that. When they say this one, urinary tract infection, I hope it's not. Because that's just the simple questions. But the organism produces this also molecule. And that one. Most of the time, the exam do not really test most of those stuff. Just simple thing they test. Irrespective of what you know, in the United States, they will still teach you again. So you don't need to be perfect in ECG and now go and say, I want to understand ECG very well. You now go and meet one ECG specialist, so you'll be teaching me. You are actually most likely going to get most of the questions on ECG wrong because you will be thinking in a complex way. But when you just be like, okay, ECG, just look at it like this, you are most likely going to get the question. Just think simply. And most of the time when we are picking answers in the exam, we are not sure that they are correct. It's just the reality. And when we pick, we are just like, it could be B, it could be B, it could be C, it could be A, it could be D. And when the result comes, you just realize that you really pass. So, and these are just the misconceptions I want you to just put at the back of your mind. All right, so I'm going to flip through some pages of your first aid biochemistry. First aid is actually prepared in a very special way. You see, they bring it out every year. this also here edition, that one edition, this one, the contents do not change. So it's just a marketing strategy anyway, so that at least to push the market forward. So everybody does that, but the content is still the same. Okay, so we'll be starting now. This is biochemistry for you. You don't need to remember most of the molecules on start cramming pathway before you. I will show you the way you will be doing your thinking. Very simple stuff, and the kind of questions you are expecting. So the first aspect here is molecular biochemistry. So you have molecular, you have cellular, you have laboratory techniques, and you don't need to be a laboratory scientist before you just say this or that. Genetics, nutrition, you don't need to know a lot before you say, oh, this and that. Metabolism, you don't need to start drawing pathway. No one will ask you all those bullshits. So very simple stuff. Look at the molecular. There is nobody here that will say, I've never heard about DNA in my life, and then that person is not a doctor. So DNA, that simple thing, you will now see the way they will be testing you on it. DNA, it contains the genetic information. So the way I talk, the way I think, the way I do my things, everything is actually programmed on the DNA, in my DNA in a way. The way I walk, the way I look. So that's what everybody knows. And DNA fits into the nucleus of the cell. So there is a way the DNA is actually packaged. It's actually the packaging they are going to test you on, basically. So DNA itself is negatively charged because it has a lot of phosphate group on it. So you just want to first of all know that, please, DNA, what is the charge on it? They say it's negative. That is fine. So there is now another molecule or another, let me say, protein that you see with respect to DNA, and that is called histone. Histone helps in the proper packaging of DNA for you, because DNA itself is very, very long. So to now package it into that small thing, that's the duty of histone. Histone is the one that will help. So your question will revolve around the DNA being negatively charged and the histone being positively charged. Can you see? Now this is your first question you want to expect here. This histone, can you tell us about it? So the histone, look at the histone here. So so just look at it here. Can you see this histone? This is histone. That can you see the, because you could be giving this picture. This is histone. This is your histone. This is histone. So when you see DNA being combined with histone, then you start thinking towards something like nucleosome. Do you get me? So that's a very important point for you to note. So DNA being combined, when it wraps itself, it loops itself around the histone, it becomes nucleosome. So you don't really need to give, no one will ask you that what is nucleosome. They won't ask, just for you to say that you know. But I want you to look at this diagram very well, just for you to know the question you are expecting. So this is the DNA. It wraps itself through this histone here. Can you see? So the histone that is wrapping itself around it is actually called the histone octamer. Histone octamer. Can you see it? So let me set a question for you there. They might just say that, okay, there is this also experiment. They notice that the DNA in one way or the other is not wrapping itself around the histone. Possibly the charge on the DNA and the histone, they are not, maybe the charges, they are neutralized by one reason or the other. That's why it's not wrapping. So you just need to look at it and be like, okay, they are supposed to wrap and be together because the DNA itself is negatively charged and the histone itself is positively charged. So if I thought that relationship is not occurring, maybe the positive charge on the histone is neutralized or the negative charge on the DNA is neutralized. That's all they want you to think about. So you just need to look at it and think. Another important concept here is this very special histone. You call it H1. H1 is not part of the octamer. It's outside. Can you see it? It's outside. It's more or less like you lay a wire on your wall and you take all those clips to pin them to the wall. So that's what this histone octamer is going to function like. Can you see it? H1, H1. So we notice that USMLE love to ask around this H1 very well. So it peg it to the histone octamer. Can you see it? So if I thought they are going to say, they notice that DNA is loose on the histone octamer, which of the following is most likely deficient? Maybe the histone H1 is deficient because it's supposed to be the one to peg the DNA on the octamer. That's all. Now tell us what is difficult there. So you don't need to know everything. Just think like relate it to something that is happening around you, and that's all. So that's about this histone H1. They will ask you in the exam. Then another one is the positive charge. These two amino acids will be tested in the exam. The lysine and the arginine. We usually just say large, just the same way the first aid has put it here, large. You just say large, lysine and arginine. So they are the one that give this histone its positive charge. So the question will now say that they notice that the histone is not, maybe the positivity of histone is reduced. Can you tell us what do you think is going? Maybe the total number of the lysine is reduced, or the total number of the arginine is reduced in that histone. Can you see the way you think? So you just be thinking about these two. So with respect to histone in the exam, it's either they think the question is around the charge or these two amino acids. That's all. All right. So now you come down to the mitochondria. There's nobody here that will say, I don't know anything about mitochondria or mitochondria. So, all right. So the mitochondria itself, they actually have their own DNA. So they have their own DNA, and the kind of DNA that you see is actually circular. So this is the only structure in the cell that has circular DNA. Can you see it? So this is how the question will come. They will just say that by one experiment, they take the cell, they lyse it, and they are now seeing some circular DNA, because in the our DNA is not actually supposed to be circular. All right, just see, they are seeing circular DNA. Can you tell us where these circular DNA where they are coming from? So they are coming from the mitochondria, and that's the question you are expecting. So they are coming from the mitochondria, and that's what you are expecting in the exam. All right, so that's about this area. Can you see? That's what they will ask. That's what they are most like. So you just need to rehearse it and think around them. And that's what you need with respect to that. Then you have this concept, heterochromatin, euchromatin concept. All right. So what the exam will do is that they will give you this picture in the exam. They can give you the picture, or they just write the story and make the illustration. So with respect to the picture, you just want to know which area is hetero, which one is euchromatin. Okay, so let me first of all talk about the picture, then I will talk about what the heterochromatin stand for, the euchromatin, what it means. So the heterochromatin, in the picture they will give you, you will see some dark areas. Can you see them here? Dark area, and likes. All right. So this dark area that you are seeing, they are actually the heterochromatin. What you have there is heterochromatin. So they will just ask you that the arrowed region, they will just put an arrow on it like this. They just put an arrow and just label it X. What does X? This is the nucleus. So they just say, what does it stand for? You now say, this is heterochromatin now because it's dark. Okay, so just the color. Now tell us what is hard there. It's an exam you can give to someone in primary 2 that will still say this is hetero, this is you. You is the one that is clear, that is white. So in the exam, it might not be this white, but you will see that it's just clear. That is euchromatin. That's the first kind of question you are expecting. Just be expecting that. It's not that can they ask it? Can they ask it? So that's one set of questions. Another one you can be expecting is the description. You see this heterochromatin, the kind of the DNA you see here, they are actually transcriptionally inactive. If you see something that is dark like this, how many people are active in the dark at night? Are you active at night? Okay, because you are preparing for exam, you say you are active at night, and at night is dark. Most people are not active. Even your activity can be measured. It's very low at night. During the day, because the cortisol is expected to be high, so everybody is active. But at night, it's supposed to fall. Oh, that's just by the way. So this is transcriptionally inactive. This one that is during the day that is clear is transcriptionally active. Now ask yourself a question. The next question they will now test here is that when you say this region is transcriptionally inactive, what does it mean? What are you trying to tell us? What it means is that the DNA you see here, they're actually closely packed. So transcription is not occurring. For transcription to occur, for you to be able to copy a book, you need to open it up. How can I copy your note when you are covering it? Please open it. Let me copy. So if we say transcriptionally it is inactive, it shows that the DNA are not open. If they are not open, this is how they are. They are now closely packed. Now tell me what you can copy here in this region. There is nothing. Look at my cursor. There is nothing you can copy here. Nothing you can copy here. Everything is packed. So you need to open it up like this. Can you see this region? The way you lay it bare, you can now copy. All right. So they will just say, what do you think? So the DNA here, they are closely packed. So why the DNA you see here, they are actually loose. They are opened up for transcription. Okay. Another thing again that can occur here is that we'd love to, the question we may make reference to is with respect to two terms, methylation, acetylation. Just look at the name, methylate. We usually love to say to make mute. We'll see it somewhere, to make mute. So acetylate means to make active. So if I increase methylation, it means that I'm muting it. DNA, shut up, don't talk. No transcription, don't talk. That is increased methylation. So they will now tell you in the exam that, and by this also something, they notice that this also region is highly methylated, or the acetylation is reduced in this also region. And I say, what do you think is going to happen? It means it's transcriptionally inactive. You mute it, you methylate it. When you reduce acetylation, you reduce the activity, so it's not going to speak. And that's all you are expecting here. The question will not go beyond this. That's one thing about first aid. The question will not go all the questions they will set, pata, everything is there already. Just sit down and look at it. And whatsoever you have picked there, that's all you are expecting. Beyond that, nothing more. The same thing for the euchromatin. Transcriptionally, this region is active. So you can look at the methylation is reduced, acetylation is high, is active. So acetylation of the DNA here is high, methylation is low, and that's all. So the diagram and the description. So then you come down to the DNA methylation, histone methylation, histone acetylation, histone deacetylation. How am I going to cram this? We have told you several times. USMLE is not about cramming. You will just over cram and start forgetting the important thing, including your name. You've crammed everything. Then I say, what is your name? You are thinking about a syndrome. Because it's a simple question. What is your name? I'm Festus. You can't even remember that because you've crammed all manner of jargons. You don't need to cram here. Just remember, methylation is just to mute. You don't bother yourself with the condition. So the way the question will come is that they will give you the instruction, the story, and all manner of stuff. They will now say that the so something is methylated. All they want you to talk about is that, if it's methylated, then it is going to be transcriptionally inactive. And that's all. If you take the histone too, you methylate it, it's also going to be transcriptionally inactive. Can you see the way you are thinking? Just the word methylation. So if you acetylate it, then it's going to be transcriptionally active. Can you see? Now let me complicate the matter a bit for you. let us assume that there is a protein that suppress the expression of another protein. Can you see? There is a gene that will suppress the expression of another gene. If that gene is expressed, it will suppress. Let me illustrate it for you. I want you to think. You will be thinking now. So this is it. This is gene X. This is gene Y. So when the gene X is expressed, it will suppress the expression of gene Y. Now think about it. They now tell you, because that's where your own thinking will now come from. They now say this one is methylated. When it's methylated, now say, what do you think will happen to the expression of Y? You now say it's going to be I. Because when you methylate this one, it's not going to be expressed. So this Y will now be expressed more. So all you need to do is just to think. It's just 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2. If 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, what do you think 3 plus 3 will be? They say 6. That's all you are doing. So in the exam now, they might say that gene X, when it is expressed, get it again, is going to suppress the expression of gene Y. They now say that gene X is methylated. What do you think will happen to the expression of Y? So if you rush to go and pick reduce because of methylate, because of that thing I told you about, you will get the question wrong. So if you methylate this one, it won't be expressed. Therefore, Y will now be expressed more. So that's what they need from you. Just for you to. So the condition you are expecting them to link the question to in the exam is Fragile X syndrome. But they can link it to any condition they like. So you don't need to cram it. Don't cram it. So just note this principle. Okay. The same thing for the histone. Just note the term methylation with mute. You can link it. You say, please, can you methylate that guy that is shouting over there? They say, mute your mic. That's what we are trying to say.
I wear my watch for.
All right. Can you all hear me? Are you okay? Just to be sure. So can you methylate that guy that is just shouting over there? So you just say methylate the guy. So you mute the guy. That's what it means. Can you acetylate the guy? Make the guy very active. So just something like that. All right. So that's just by the way. That's that. So you don't need to cram the conditions. Just pick the main point and move on. Okay. For the histone deacetylation, think about it. If you deacetylate, you are trying to remove the acetyl group. That's what it means. So you will make less active.
Sorry?
So it's the same thing.
Yeah, you can trade it if you want.
Please, can you help us mute your mic, please? All right, thank you. So you are going to reduce the transcription. That's what it means. So you deacetylate, you reduce the transcription. So there is a condition they are going to link the question to in the exam, and that condition is going to be the Huntington disease. It's Huntington. Go and change the name to another condition. It's still the same Huntington you will see. It's Huntington that you are going to see. For the DNA methylation is Fragile X. So you don't need to cram the condition. Just note the question will bring it out. By all you need to take into the exam is methylation will mute, acetylation will make active. So for the Huntington is deacetylation is stone there. So you don't need to cram it because the answer will come out straight. You just be like, this if you deacetylate, so Huntington. So this is the only answer that will make sense and means all the option. All right, I will stop that one there. So you come down to the nucleotide. I hate it. I hate it when I was in school. We know you hate it. And just relax. So that let us just intimate you to the same terms you hated while you were there. Nucleotide. So the nucleoside is just base and the sugar. That's all you have there. Base and the sugar. You don't need to cram this one I'm talking about. You don't need to cram it. You don't need it. But just for you to know that someone mentioned it. The one you think you need, Ganga, will mention it. Okay. All right. So this is it. For the nucleotide, you have this base, the sugar, and the phosphate. Can you see? Can you see the difference? So the nucleotide has phosphate in it. So they might just give you anyhow they want to. You shall know that nucleotide has letter T, so it has phosphate. Nucleoside has letter S. It's just stop at the level of the sugar. It doesn't get to the level of phosphate. So nucleotide has base, sugar, and phosphate. That's nucleotide. Okay, now we have the two categories of the these bases that you see them talk about in the exam. All right, we have the purines, we have the pyrimidines. So just note this mnemonic they put here. We know you just note it. Pure as gold. Cut the pyramid. The same pyramid that you know, just cut it. We know you don't want to cut it, just cut it. So pure as gold. So this pure, P-U-R-A, that is purine. So you have the base A, adenine, and guanine. These are the two bases you have here. Can you see? All right. So that's for the pure as gold. Because you may be confused in the exam. Adenine, guanine, which what is it? Purine? Is it pyrimidine? Is it purine? Is it which one? Just remember pure as gold. You get it. So don't say because you don't have gold, it can't be pure. It's pure as gold. So then cut the pyramid. C-U-T. Then pyramid is pyrimidine. So you just note that one. So the C here, so that is your cytosine, uracil, the thymine. Can you see? So these are the three bases that are pyrimidine. Cut the pyramid. So you just need to say it once or twice. You are okay. All right. That's all. Wait, that's not all. Now, the first point you want to take to the exam, beyond those ones, those background, is this point. This is your number one. This point. Thymine as a methyl group. Can you see it? Thymine as a methyl group. You can look at it. Methyl, methymine, thymine as a methyl group. So what it means is that I'm going to show you how you will apply this. Very easy. So they might just say, so molecule is methylated. You methylate it, then this is most likely going to become thymine. Can you see it? So just for you to have an idea, it has a methyl group on it. That's one thing you want to note about the thymine. That's your first point. The second point is about this deamination reaction. You just want to remove the amine group. That's what it means. I hate amine. I don't want to know anything about it. Yes, we know you hate it. But remember this, that there is a reaction called deamination. Okay, you don't need to know beyond that. Just one more thing we want you to note. And what is that? Is this cytosine. So when you deaminate cytosine, it will become uracil. And this is where USMLE will have. What USMLE will test here? They will say that maybe they will shall give the long story, blah, 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 this one, that one. And there is a deamination process on the DNA. Immediately you see it. Once you see deamination process on the DNA, the cytosine group that is there will become uracil. So this is the potential source of mutation. That's what you are expecting them to test. But that's it, potential source. So when you are going with the simplicity of your thinking. You are reading the question, just say, something, this also radiation land on this patient and is now causing the deamination process. Which of the following reaction could have occurred on the DNA? The answer is cytosine conversion to uracil. You now see it, you are shouting, I was telling that guy, I need to have read, I need to have crammed everything. No, we are laying them bare to you. Think out loud on this point. This is the potential source of mutation. So when you deaminate this cytosine, it just becomes uracil. What about the remaining? You might not really bother yourself on them. You can pick this one and you have peace. The next one is this third point. Uracil, where are you supposed to see it? You say, it's supposed to be on RNA. DNA is supposed to be double strand anyways. So even though you have some variation and the like. So RNA. So once they give you a particular molecule, like a gene, and you are seeing, or just a strand, let me use a strand, like a general term, and you are seeing uracil on it, most likely you are dealing with RNA. That's what it means. If not RNA, it might be a mutated DNA. Uracil is not supposed to be on DNA. The same way you are not supposed to see thymine in the RNA. So thymine, you are supposed to see it in the DNA. All right, so that is what you have here. Can you see? Uracil found in RNA. So if you are now, the question now say there is a DNA strand that is now showing uracil. Once you see that, just say, it's mutated. There's a mutation going on. That's what they want from you. Think simply. It may be bigger than that. Just think simply. The last but not the least is this. You see the 4 points I'm bringing out for you. So this is the last point I will mention. So which base we pair with which one? You are supposed to see C pairing with G, and you are supposed to see A pairing on DNA pairing with T. Can you see? All right. So what this means is this: how many hydrogen bond? The kind of bond you have here is hydrogen bond. They will now ask you how many hydrogen bond. How many hydrogen? I want you to listen to me and see the simplicity. This is supposed to be 3 hydrogen bond. This is supposed to be 2 hydrogen bond. All right. Now let me show you how the exam will look. They will now say there is a particular DNA that has that 70% of it is C. Is C. They will just say it's just C. Cytidine. Cytidine is that's the nucleotide version of it. Immediately you see that 70% is C. So majority of them is C. So which means that it will be pairing. It will be pairing with G. Or let me just say 40%. It will be pairing with G. Do you get me? So that's what it means. So C will have, so you have a lot of CG, 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 CG there. That's what it means. So immediately you see that if majority of the nucleotide that you have on that DNA is actually C and G, what it means is that the hydrogen bond you see there will be stronger compared to another DNA. Why? The majority of the nucleotide you see there, they are A and T. So they will now ask you this question. Which of the following is likely correct or something? The temperature you will need to break the first one will be high, because this one has 3 hydrogen bonds. So majority of them are stronger compared to this second one that has majority of the nucleotide there being A and T. And that's all. That's all. Increase in melting point. So they might say that there is an experiment, X and Y, and the temperature to actually melt the DNA X is actually, let me use just arbitrary this thing, is 100 degrees Celsius. The temperature to melt DNA Y is 90 degrees Celsius. Which of the following could have been responsible? You now say DNA X is likely to have a higher number or amount or proportion of C and G bond. That's all. Can you see? The same length of DNA, and that's how you do the thinking. Now, let me complicate the matter a bit. So if the DNA is long, it's very long, so you also need more temperature to break the bond in a way. So because you have a lot of bond to break. So that's another thing you may consider, length. And that's all they want you to bring into the exam here. You can use it to write ABC book for the primary 4 pupil, and they will still get all the questions right. Festus, say yes. Do I need to cram this? Do I need to start drawing? We know you like to draw. In fact, they even label you a doctor artist and the likes. But please, you don't need all these jargons. You don't need them. You don't need all these things. Nobody will ask you to draw it or to pick the molecule. That's not the exam. All right. You come down to the de novo pyrimidine and purine synthesis. So de novo pyrimidine and purine synthesis. What does that mean? What this means is that de novo, you want to synthesize it right from the beginning. We can also synthesize these guys by, through the salvage pathway. They've been produced before. They were supposed to be broken down, but we salvage them. We save them. We save them. But this is de novo, so right from the beginning. So that's, I need to sit down and now cram this pathway. We know you love to cram, but you don't need to cram anything here. You just want to understand, because you are not going to go into the exam and be saying, they won't, even if they draw it for you, the way the exam will be structured, you don't need to have known the pathway before you pick the answer. That's what it means. All right, come here. This is the pyrimidine based production. This is the purine one. Okay, now this is actually a molecule that is produced, carbamoyl phosphate, and the production of this molecule becomes the rate limiting step. Oh, I need to now note that glutamine and CO2 will combine in the presence of carbamoyl phosphate synthetase 2 to form carbamoyl phosphate. No, you don't need to cram it. You don't even really need to know that at this level that glutamine will combine with CO2. So just know that if at all they shall tell me that carbamoyl phosphate is formed, so I will just say the enzyme responsible is carbamoyl phosphate synthetase 2. Oh, for them to label it 2, definitely we have 1. Yes, we have 1. And that 1 is related to the urea cycle. All right, so please, just for you to put that one at the back of your mind and just note it and just relax. Okay, now what do we need to note here? Your assignment starts at this level. That all these things I put here are label red. That's where your assignment starts from. So this is it. Orotic acid formation. This is where your assignment starts from. Festus is looking somehow. Have you heard about orotic acid before? If you say yes, that's fine. Pay attention. If you say no, relax. You also pay attention. There is a molecule called orotic acid. You can enter into Usmle and claim that out of the things I want to drop at the entrance, orotic acid is part of them. You are wrong. Nobody will take that from you. Orotic acid? Oroni, like, that's wrong. You can't drop orotic acid. You need to take it out. So you must note it. Orotic acid. So this orotic acid can also cause megaloblastic anemia. It can also cause megaloblastic anemia. That's another point you want to note. It can also cause megaloblastic anemia. So the thing about this megaloblastic anemia, how you will know that it's most likely from orotic acid accumulation, how you will know is that they will tell you that this patient has megaloblastic anemia, which you will have seen from the what do you call it, the neutrophil that is hypersegmented, this one, that one, and like, you will have seen it. They will now say they gave the patient vitamin B12. It never resolved, and you are like, maybe it's folic acid. The question will now say the patient was also given folic acid. The megaloblastic anemia never resolved. Immediately you see megaloblastic anemia that choose not to resolve with the administration of vitamin B12 or folic acid. That is most likely related to orotic acid accumulation. And that's the question. So you call that orotic aciduria. Now tell me, where is now the question here? The question here is this. They will say that which enzyme could have been responsible for this. This is the first clinical stuff you are expecting here. It's a clinical exam. And that is UMP. You call it UMP synthase. So UMP synthase deficiency or defect will make orotic acid to accumulate. Festus, is there no any other way they could have given it? No, that's the general way. They will just say orotic acid accumulate, blah blah blah, or they just paint a scenario of megaloblastic anemia that failed to resolve with the administration of vitamin B12 or folic acid. So immediately you just see that, just be like, most likely I'm dealing with it. They will just say, which of the following is likely to be defective in this patient? UMP synthase. But you say we should not cram. But please forgive me, cram this one. You just rehearse it and just in the exam, I'm expecting it. That's your question number 1. The next important point about the orotic acid aciduria that I may want to just chip in is that I put it under what I call the concept of hyperammonemia. In the exam, biochemistry question, once you see hyperammonemia in the exam, in the question, most likely that question is related to urea cycle. Most likely, that question is related to urea cycle. You now ask yourself, is this urea cycle? No. This has nothing to do with urea cycle. So this is not urea cycle. So you won't be thinking towards, we are going to get to urea cycle. So you won't be thinking towards anything about urea cycle or urea. And the way they will coin the question will be very simple, that which of the following pathway is this condition most likely related to? Now say urea metabolism, this one or that one, and I mean you just urea cycle and the like. So you just know that no, this is not. Once you see, you don't see hyperammonemia, not urea cycle. If you see hyperammonemia, that question is related to urea cycle. Nail it, note it. That's it. If the question is 10 pages and you are seeing hyperammonemia there, most likely it's related to urea cycle. You don't need to be correct, but you have something you are thinking about. Once you shall go, you see hyperammonemia, most likely urea cycle is affected. And that's all. That's your first question. You see, the enzyme they will test here, UMP synthase, orotic aciduria. That's it. Okay, the next one that you are expecting question on is this drug, hydroxyurea. This enzyme is what they are going to test. This is the enzyme. Are they going to give the pathway? No, they won't give the pathway too. Hydroxyurea, everybody here knows about hydroxyurea. That is one of the drugs that you talk about when you are dealing with sickle cell patients, just to raise the level of fetal hemoglobin. So that's one thing. So the question is most likely going to be related to a sickle cell patient that is placed, help us to meet your mic, that is placed on a drug. Can you see? They will just say the patient is a sickle cell patient placed on a drug and the drug raised the level of fetal hemoglobin. They will now say which of the following is most likely the mechanism of action of that drug. It's hydroxyurea. So that drug will inhibit ribonucleotide reductase. Write it down. Say it once, twice, third time, you will be fine. You will remember it, expect it. That's your second question. So that you are looking for. So ribonucleotide reductase. This is the enzyme. They will just say which of the following enzyme is most likely affected by the drug. See, this ribonucleotide reductase. That's how the question will be. They won't give you the diagram. Just note it. So now, there is something about ribonucleotide reductase. The thing about this enzyme is that it produces deoxy of all the nucleotide. Deoxy. In the DNA, what the kind of nucleotide you have there, they are all deoxy. In the RNA, they are not deoxy. Those ones are not deoxy. So this one is deoxy. So if I will need deoxy in the DNA, what it means is that, please, I need an enzyme to convert most of those nucleotides to the deoxy form. That enzyme that will perform that magic is ribonucleotide reductase, deoxy. And that is the enzyme that's going to perform the magic. Can you see? So it's the one that will produce deoxy UDP, deoxy this one, deoxy that one, deoxy this, deoxy that. That's the enzyme. So once they give you a particular stuff, or they say that they check the patient and they notice that majority of the deoxy form of this, deoxy this is low, deoxy this low, deoxy that low, deoxy, before you start eating your head and shouting olugbalagba no, it's ribonucleotide reductase. Most likely the question is pointing to. Most likely is deficient. That's just the enzyme. Deoxy. Very simple concept that everybody should know. You see? Deoxy. Think about it. Set question for yourself. That's your second one. The third question is this area. Can you see? You can't enter into that exam and forget this region. You now say I chop ogbono and semo and now choose to forget this region. You must be a liar. Nobody will take that from you. So this area. Now what is going on here? it is actually the formation of this this DTMP. Can you see? DTMP. So this is thymidine that is actually formed here, phosphate. So how am I forming it? You now remember that thymine is the one that has methyl group. So if thymine has a methyl group, it shows that once I add methyl group to the uracil here, I will form the thymine. Now, how am I going to drop methyl group on it? You will now need this tetrahydrofolate. It's actually the methyl group carrier. Can you see this stuff? So, methyl group carrier. So, this one will carry the methyl group, drop it on this uracil. The same concept you've noted before, and now form the thymine. T. You just remember U being converted to T. So they will just frame the question and just say that which of the following molecule maybe is being transferred, which process is going on. Just something simple. Now, look at this drug. The enzyme that is important here is thymidylate synthase. This is the thymidine synthase. So the drug that will inhibit this thymidylate synthase is 5-fluorouracil. We also have this dihydrofolate reductase that will convert this dihydrofolate to tetrahydrofolate. Tetrahydrofolate is the one that can carry the methyl group. So you need to first of all convert the dihydrofolate to tetrahydrofolate. The drug that will help with this is this methotrexate, pyrimethamine, trimethoprim. And these are the drugs that we inhibit this dihydrofolate, I wanted to say. So these are the drugs that will inhibit this. So if they inhibit this process, tetrahydrofolate will not be formed. So methyl group will not be transferred. And that's all. How are they going to say this? They will just mention methotrexate or trimethoprim and pyrimethamine or something. And just say that which of the following enzyme is affected here. So you want to note this dihydrofolate reductase. They won't give you the pathway to be filling. So they will just mention it in question. And that's it. So I just put an arrow here to show the methylation process. And that's that. All right. The last thing I'm going to say here is this. It's about this purine, this drug. I'll just mention this drug. The remaining, I will ignore them for you. So, 6-mercaptopurine and azathioprine. So, this drug, expect it to. So, that's why I put the arrow on it. 6-mercaptopurine, then azathioprine. So, what is actually going on here? A very simple concept. And you need to note it because that's what you are expecting them to, the way you are expecting the question to roll. Let me show you. So, azathioprine. Okay. Let me just show you like this. This is 6-mercaptopurine. So, this is 6-mercaptopurine, 6-MP. We can actually break it down to the active product. You can look at it like that. All right. So you can actually break it because you can look at this also as azathioprine, which they can just lay the question to. You can make it active. You can make it active. You can also make it inactive. You can break it down. That's the picture you will take into the exam. So you can make it inactive. Can you see? So the enzyme, please listen attentively. So you will see the way they are doing the exam will look like. So the enzyme I need to break it down to a molecule that is very active is actually the HGPRT. Hypoxanthine guanine phosphoribosis transferase. Can you see? So that is HGPRT.
400,000.
Yeah, 400,000. So this is xanthine, the enzyme that is going to break it down to inactive products or molecule. That is xanthine oxidase. Now, see how USMLE will test this area. So they will just tell you that Okay, before I tell you that, I want you to think about this. You know that in a situation where the HGPRT is deficient, so these drugs will not be converted to active metabolites. So you just realize that you are loading the patient with the drug and the patient is not responding. What's going on? So most likely HGPRT is deficient. We just have which of the following enzyme is most likely deficient in this patient. That's HGPRT. Can you see? So you are loading the patient with the drug, but you are not seeing the response. All right. So another thing is that in a situation where this xanthine oxidase is inhibited, can you see? So what it means is that most of these drugs will not be converted to the inactive metabolite. They will, all of them, if you load this patient with 1 million molecules, all of them will be converted to the active product or molecules. And you are expecting maybe 60% activity of the drug or effect of the drug. Permit me to use that. You are now seeing 100% effect of the drug. You know, and what's going on? Because you load the patient with 1 million molecules. You expect some of them to be broken down to inactive molecule and so the others to be broken down to be converted to the active molecule. But how come this patient is overreacting to this drug? Most likely the enzyme that should break it down is actually inhibited. And that's how the question will come. Now, the question will now say that this patient is on allopurinol. Someone that is taking cis-mercaptopurine or azathioprine and the like. So now say the patient is also taking allopurinol, which is xanthine oxidase inhibitor. Can you see? So if you are inhibiting this, then now say which of the following are you likely to see in this patient? So what you are likely to see is a lot of adverse effects from this drug, because the patient will take 500,000 molecules and you will be, I don't know the dose or the way they give it. So, but you will see exaggerated response. That's what you will see. It shows that this enzyme, xanthine oxidase, is inhibited. Just look at the question and just say that, okay, most likely which of the following is likely responsible to the patient's clinical condition. You now say adverse effect of the, you just say adverse effect of the drug on the xanthine oxidase, or anyhow you want to look at. Once you try and look at the options, you will be able to say that, oh, this is actually what they are most likely testing here. So if the patient is taking allopurinol, xanthine oxidase will be inhibited. So majority of the drug will now be converted to active metabolite, and you will now see exaggerated response, and that's what they will say. Now, if they say that the patient is taking these drugs and you are not seeing the effect, and that's which of the following is likely responsible, which of the following enzyme is likely deficient, this is the enzyme deficient, HGPRT, and that's all. So, and this is another concept you are expecting them to test in the exam. Be like, oh, someone taking azathioprine is not responding. Which enzyme is likely deficient? HGPRT. Someone taking azathioprine and is taking the same dose, and something happened this time around, is now having exaggerated reaction or effect and the like, or adverse effect. You now say, maybe take drug history or something to look for a drug that is possibly inhibiting this xanthine oxidase. Okay, so permit me to just stop there, and that's that. So that's what you are expecting. Okay, very simple concept. Rehearse that and you'll be fine. You see, hydroxyurea inhibit ribonucleotide. That's what they will test to. They will just link it to someone with sickle cell. Then you come down to purine salvage deficiency. You don't also need to, if not that this is webinar, I will have shown you a question, how you can apply this. So like you have like, how many questions here? You can see this. So this is a question just for you to have an idea of how this could be tested. So this is a question, this is another question. You see their answers are there and the like. So look at this 67-year-old woman who was recently diagnosed with Crohn's disease, comes to the physician for evaluation of her immunosuppressive therapy. And now say she has had recurrent flares since her diagnosis. Physical examination shows 2 shallow ulcers in her oral mucosa. The physician considered adding azathioprine to her medication regimen. A deficiency of which of the following enzymes would diminish the therapeutic effect of this drug? You now say, there is an enzyme that should convert it to the active metabolite, and that is PRT. So if it's deficient, it won't be converted. So you just look for it. Hypoxanthine, guanine, phosphoribosyltransferase, transferase, and that's all. Okay, so that's just by the way. You can relate it to this other question too. This one too, you can look at it. 12-year-old boy is evaluated due to fever, fatigue, and easy bruising. So now in the exam, you need to be very careful being carried away by the story, most especially for step one. Most of the time, the story is just what they want you to test, because what they want to test is not the clinical stuff. It's actually the concept of the basis. That's what they want to test. So if you realize that you are reading the question and you don't really know the diagnosis, don't bother. The question most of the time is not about diagnosis. It's just about something basic. So you don't need the diagnosis before you answer the question. So 12-year-old is being evaluated for fever, fatigue, and easy bruising. Physical examination shows pallor, generalized lymphadenopathy, and bone tenderness. Now, the laboratory evaluation reveals anemia, thrombocytopenia, leukocytosis with atypical lymphoblastic. And this is a 12-year-old with lymphadenopathy. Most likely, you are dealing with ALL. All right. So when you get to leukemia, we'll break it down for you. You don't need to blink twice before you know the diagnosis that it's ALL until proven otherwise. So now say bone marrow. What did I see here? The child, the age of the patient, the lymphadenopathy, and the leukocytosis. What do you call it? Lymphoblastic. They are the one you will be seeing lymphadenopathy. So you just see the WBC is just high, and you are seeing that there is lymphadenopathy. Most likely you are dealing with either ALL or CLL. You now look at the age. If the patient is a child, ALL. If the patient is an adult, CLL. Can you see the way I look at it? Very simple concept. So you don't need to now overread the question and be eating your temporal part of your head before you know what is going on. But you don't need the diagnosis. So the patient is treated with combination chemotherapy, and cis-macatopirin is administered for maintenance of remission. And I say, which of the following enzyme inactivates this drug? And I say, it's xantinosidase. So you just flip through the options and pick xantinosidase. That's all. And that's that. All right, you can also complicate the matter and think around it. So come down to the purine sulfate deficiency. So with respect to the purine sulfate deficiency, what it means is that the purine is supposed to be broken down, like it's supposed to be lost, but something saved them. You know how many people that are supposed to be broken down, to be lost here, but someone saved them? Salvage. Purine salvage. So system. So if at all is now deficient, so it means that most of the time those purine will continue to be broken down and they will be lost. That's what this purine sulfate deficiency is. Oh, and I need to cram this. Also, you don't need to cram anything. You don't need to cram it. You don't need to cram this pathway. You don't need it. You don't need to cram it. I'm very, very sincere with you. Now, what are the purine? You remember pure as gold. You now say, okay, we are supposed to have the adenine and guanine. So AMP, the nucleotide version of it. GMP, the nucleotide version of it, of the G. So AMP and GMP. Can you see? That's your first point. At least you know the nucleotide, you know those nucleotides, you know the purine. The second important point to note here is that just remember that the AMP will be broken down to hypoxanthine, while the GMP will be broken down to guanine. So you can just try to remember that. So AMP will shall come down to hypoxanthine, while the GMP will come down to guanine. And if you think that is also still a bit shaky, so you can just say that both of them will be converted to xanthine. Very easy. Both of them will be broken down to xanthine. Just note that. You don't need to cram the pathway. And if at all you see a question that is testing the cramming of the pathway, that question will not come out in the exam. The exam is not usually like that. All right, so it's sharp converted. So what are you expecting them to test here? Two conditions, basically, SCID and Leschnian syndrome. And I want you to pay attention here, please. SCID and Leschnian syndrome. So let's first of all look at the Leschnian syndrome. So what is happening here is that hypoxanthine is generated, guanine is generated, and we want to salvage this molecule. So we need another molecule to salvage and one enzyme to salvage these two. So that molecule you need that you're expecting them to test is PRPP. Can you see? So you're expecting them to test this PRPP. So this is phosphoribosis pyrophosphate. Can you see? Phosphoribosis pyrophosphate. Can you see? That's PRPP. This is the molecule you need to salvage, and this is the enzyme you need to salvage. Just know the two. I'll show you the way it will come. So HGPRT. Can you see? Hypoxanthine, guanine, phosphoribosis transferase. Where are we going to get the phosphoribosis that we will transfer from the phosphoribosis pyrophosphate, PRPP? That's where the molecule, this PR is coming from. So we now take this enzyme, we take the PR from this PRPP, drop it on hypoxanthine. That one will form IMP. So take this PR from PRPP, drop it on guanine. That one will form GNP. So do I need to cram it? Actually, no. Just for you to know that they will describe the leishmania and they will test which of the following enzyme is likely deficient in this patient. That's when you will pick HGPRT. But all these and this one will be converted to IMP and GNP. Nobody actually tests all those jargons. They don't test it in the. They will just ask you very simple Leishmanian syndrome question and just which of the following enzyme is likely deficient, and that's all. So you don't need to just remember that it is in this region you talk about Leishmania. Can you see the way I'm looking at it? So how am I going to know that this is Leishmania? What you will see, you can use this HGPRT mnemonic. You can H here is hyperuricemia, G is gout, P is someone that is pissed off. So you just see this self-mutilation. Even though there are some other conditions where you can see self-mutilation, but aggression, self-mutilation, gout, once you are seeing all those kind of stuff, so you start thinking towards Leishmania. Because if now I say that there is a patient that is having hyperuricemia, is having gout, and is having self-mutilation, I'm very sure everybody here will shout and echo on top of their voice that this is Leishmania. Now the question, so you already know that this is Leishmania now. They will now ask you which of the following enzyme is likely deficient in this, and that's when they will test this HGPRT. That's all. Can you see the question you are expecting there? So that's Leishmania. That's the major question you are basically expecting. But there is one more I want you to note. We mentioned before that there is de novo and this is salvage. So if this enzyme is deficient, think about it. It means that salvage is not going to be functional. A majority of the nucleotide or nucleoside you see in our body, they are actually retained by this salvage process. So, but you are telling me, Mr. Body, that this patient is deficient of HGPRT, then something is going on. What this means is that the system that will now be responsible for maintaining the level of the purine in the body will now be the de novo. Can you see? It's now going to be the de novo. So now that's now where they will now come. They will now tell you that now that you are saying that this is a Leishmanian syndrome, which what do we call it? Which enzyme activity is now going to be very high in this patient? Because salvage is deficient, de novo will need to take over everything. So the enzyme activity that will now be very high is now going to be this one, PRPP amidotransferase activity, and that's all. It's a compensatory increase in purine synthesis in the de novo system. So this is the enzyme. How? Where is it coming from? Shall note it and move on. That's all. Just note it and move on. Just continue your journey. We know you want to know everything. But just know that, okay, if I thought they ask any other question they can ask me is the enzyme activity that will now be high in this. So just look at it. So when you see it, you just know that you've seen it and move on. Can you see the two ways I say that this area can be tested? They will give the clinical condition and just test you about which enzyme is deficient, HGPRT. Another one is that they will test is, what do you call it? Which enzyme activity is going to be high. Because that is the question they can set that you will be looking confused and be like, I know the HGPRT is deficient. You are now asking me about the one that will be high. It is this enzyme they are testing. PRPP amidotransferase. The activity of it. And that's all. Very easy, straightforward. Festus, what about the second thing? Second thing they will test is this SCID. Can you see SCID? So the SCID is severe combined immune deficiency. That's SCID for you. So SCID. Sorry. So that's SCID for you. So the enzyme that they will link to SCID, you just realize that all these, what do you call it, the lymphocytes. So the lymphocyte level will just be very low. B, T, B, T, B, T is combined. Both of them are low. And it's severe. They will now say which enzyme is actually deficient here. Adenosine deaminase. Ada? I think there is a song that used to say, Ada, Ada. Yeah. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, maybe my brain is just playing prank on me. So, but adenosine deaminase. That's the enzyme. Severe. You can even make a joke around it. Ada, you and your friend combine together. You are playing skid on me. You can just, or you are playing skid, or you just make a joke around it and move on. Ada and skid. So they will mention it or they portray it. They will just say that lymphocyte is low. T lymphocyte low, B lymphocyte low, blah, 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 and the likes. Which of the following enzyme is likely deficient in this patient? So the answer will be adenosine deaminase, ADA. Now, the second question here again that you want to note, apart from this enzyme, when they link it to SCID, is that which of the following molecule will be high in this patient? Now look at this. Come here. Just for you to have an idea so that when you are thinking it, it will make sense. This is AMP that's supposed to be broken down by this ADA, adenosine deaminase. But the adenosine deaminase is not there. What do you think will happen? Adenosine will accumulate. AMP will accumulate. ADP will accumulate. ATP will accumulate. Can you see? All of them. Which molecule are we dealing with? Say DNA. Deoxy. All of them will accumulate. So the high level of deoxy ATP will now inhibit a particular enzyme that is supposed to produce the deoxy. You now remember which enzyme? You now say, I remember that guy shouting ribonucleotide reductase. Ribonucleotide reductase is supposed to produce deoxy. But the deoxy level is already high. Deoxy what? Deoxy ATP, deoxy ADP, deoxy AMP. All of them are high. By negative feedback, it's now going to inhibit. Ribonucleotide reductase. Please, can you stop there? The level of deoxy is already high. But there is a caveat there. Deoxy, what is high? Is only deoxy AMP, ADP, ATP. That's the only one that is high. What about the deoxy TMP? Can you see? What about the deoxy CTP? All those other ones, they are not produced because you have already inhibited ribonucleotide reductase. And as a result, there will be high level of deoxy ATP that are useless. They are the only one. They will just say, you can produce DNA by yourself. Continue producing DNA now. Produce all the DNA. You've already shut down the ribonucleotide reductase not to produce the other deoxy for the other bases. Then you should produce the DNA by yourself. So as a result, the DNA production will shut down. Can you see? Replication process is going to be affected. And that will bring down the level of the lymphocytes. So can you see can you see the reason why I put the arrow here? The question will now say, which of the following enzyme activity will be reduced in this patient? So they will paint the scenario of SCID. So there are two enzyme activity you are looking for, ADA and ribonucleotide reductase, the two of them. And those are the two questions. So, and you will identify it because the only molecule that will be elevated in that patient is this deoxy ATP. That's the only thing that will be elevated there. And these are just the two conditions that are linked here. So you don't need to cram the pathway. Now, which other concept do I want you to note here? The other concept I want you to note here is about this drug. I want you to pay attention to this drug. Allopurinol, febuxostat, rasburicase. Can you see? Allopurinol, febuxostat. So allopurinol and febuxostat, they are actually xanthine oxidase inhibitor. So they will, please listen, they will reduce the production of uric acid. These two will reduce the production of uric acid. However, rasburicase has nothing to do with uric acid production. As a matter of fact, it is when the uric acid is actually produced that this enzyme is actually needed, or this drug is actually needed. I wanted to say the drug is actually needed. And the thing about this rasburicase is that it is not in human. It's not there. We don't have it. So when you give it, when you realize that the patient has high level of uric acid, and you read that a drug is actually given that facilitates the excretion of that uric acid, that drug is rasburicase. Allopurinol, febuxostat, they do not facilitate the excretion. They only reduce the production. So there are two things here: production, excretion. For the production, allopurinol, febuxostat. For the excretion, rasburicase. And that's what you want to note. Okay, so that's that about this area. Okay, before I'm going to start this genetic code features, I will allow us to go for a short break of how many minutes? 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. Then we are going to start the genetic code features. So just try to pick the simple. Sorry that I'm a bit slow. So, but definitely I just need to, so that you get the gist. Then you can go and rehearse it and the like. So just get the gist. Go back, rehearse it over and over again. You will now be able to think the way they want you to think in the exam. And when you miss any question, don't ever feel bad. In fact, miss question with pride. You miss it. Those people that pass very well, they were once missing all the questions. I remember those times. I will solve you what I would just get like maybe 15 or 20 20 over 40, because you can't think. You were not born in US, unless maybe you are from US, so, and you don't know the way there unless someone actually initiates you into it. All right, so that's just by the way. So in the next 10 minutes we'll meet and we are going to continue with genetic code, and I will show you what you are expecting in the exam: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can go and expand on them. Thank you. We meet in the next 10 minutes. Thank you. Okay, so this is genetic code features. So what do you want to take into the exam? Just for you to have an idea, and I want you to think simply so that you won't go and be overthinking. All right. So genetic code, first point is that not for you to cram, just for you to know that I've heard about it before. It's unambiguous. What it means is that each codon, what do we mean by codon? When you take nucleotide and you bring 3 of them together, you form a codon. So CGA. So this is a codon. So this codon will code for 1 amino acid. So that is a codon. So you can't see the same CGA coding for another amino acid. It's not possible. That's unambiguous. So if they say this CGA code for amino acid X, it's always going to be X. It's not going to now change to Y. It's not possible. CGA 1 is 1 throughout. I want you to pay attention so that you get the gist. Then you come to degenerate or redundant. This is actually where the question will come from. And once you understand this area, the way you will be understanding most of those questions will be quite amazing. Very wonderful logic that you have here. And if you look at the arrow, I just put one big arrow on one area here. But before that, most amino acids are coded by multiple codon. So here now we say a codon CGA we code for, let us say, amino acid X. We can also have, let me say, T. I'm just writing anything I see. So TAG. We can also say maybe TAG. If I told you, also coding for amino acid X. Can you see? Also coding for amino acid X, the same amino acid. Permits me to just show you like that. So it's also coding for amino acid X. Can you see? So amino acid X can be from CGA, it can also be from TAG or something. So that is what you have here. But there is what we call wobble hypothesis. If there is anything I want you to take away from here, it's actually this wobble hypothesis. It's the most tested concept when it comes to genetics, and what you are going to be checking out for in the exam. Just be checking for it. That I hope this question is not about the wobble or something like that. So this wobble hypothesis, what does it stand for? Here now, I wrote CGA, coding for amino acid X. Let me write it again. CGA, coding for amino acid X. So if at all there is a mutation, can you see? Okay, before that, the only thing amidst this in the writing of this codon that is responsible for this deformation or the attraction of this amino acid X is just the first two. Can you see? It's just the first two. That's the only thing that you need. So CGA we attract amino acid X. CGT is also going to attract amino acid X. CGC is also going to attract amino acid X. So if the third one is the one that is changing, the amino acid is not going to change. Can you see? You call that silent mutation. There is a mutation, but the amino acid never change. It doesn't change. Now, Festus, how are they going to test it? Let me show you. They will now give you a strand, or they will just come to tRNA. They will bring the tRNA out and now show you that there is a mutation or something shall change the third what do you call it? Third nucleotide. I hope I've not been calling it amino acid anyway. Please, if at all I make a mistake of calling this amino acid, please forgive me. These are the amino acid. So third nucleotide. So they will just say that this third one is changed. There is a mutation that changed it to something. They will now say which of the following is most likely going to occur. The same amino acid will still be attached. That's the answer. So when you are looking at the mutation, one of the mutations you are looking out for is just this one that will test the wobble hypothesis. So once it is the third one that is changed, you are not expecting anything to really change in that question, in that protein. Okay, let me set another question. They say there is a protein called maybe beta receptor. Permit me to say one rubbish. They will now say that there is a mutation, and that mutation does not change the entire amino acid sequence in the entire protein. Which part of the codon or which portion of the codon is the mutation most likely, or what kind of mutation do you think this is? That is actually the silent one. Do you get me? It's in the third nucleotide. It's not in the first, it's not in the second. That is wobble. So check your question. Is the mutation they are talking about in the third? Once it is in the third, that amino acid will not change. That's all you need. Wobble, 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 wobble. That's one of the most tested concepts in the exam. If you look at it, it's not even difficult at all. And that's that. The other concepts they put here, I don't think you need to bother yourself about them. So comma-less. We don't put comma when you are writing them. The exception to this is just on file, but you don't need to bother yourself. You are not expecting question on that. Unifasa. So genetic code is conserved throughout evolution, so it's conserved. Exception and human is the mitochondria. And you don't forget that I told you about the kind of DNA you see in the mitochondria. That's circular DNA. Expect that in the exam. Okay. So,
Sorry, Chief. Can you explain the exceptions again?
so the exception basically. Okay, are you talking about the exception here? Oh,
For
let
the
me
Hubble
let for
hypothesis,
the
yes.
exception they are talking about here basically is just that. I will still mention it later. It's just that there are some amino acids that you don't have them. It's just only one codon you see that is coding for them. When you see AUG anywhere in the exam, that is methionine. You are not expecting. Once this G change, do you get me? You are not going to have methionine again. AUG is always we usually call it August. I met you in August. I met you in August. So AUG, that's methionine. Do you get me? That's methionine. I'll still tell you some stuff about methionine later. So I'll still mention them no matter what. Okay, then another one is the tryptophan. It's just UGG. That one does, because once you change this one, because it's only one codon, it will change. The amino acid will change. So AUG is always going to be methionine. Please just know that. Once you see AUG anywhere, that is methionine. Okay. Now, you come down to this area, DNA replication. We know you will hate it. You just hate it because you are just like, I hate it. I hate biochemistry. Well, that's fine. Okay. What do I want to establish? I just want you to follow me. Listen. Pick the gist. Then you go and just go and carry any question anywhere. No cramming. Don't cram anything here. The first point you want to take into the exam is what we call direction. You can't enter into that exam and say that, what is the direction of DNA replication? Most especially in the continuous strand. And you are like, all they ask about direction, you are like, it can be 3' to 5', or 5' to 3'. So, it's not how. So, just note that most of the direction you are going to be making reference to in the exam is 5' to 3'. That's the major direction you must focus on in the exam. 5', 3', 5', 3'. Now, let me explain how that will be tested. So, this is it. You have double strand for DNA. The first strand, we can label it 3' to 5'. The second strand here will now be the opposite because they must be complementary to each other. So, this one will now be 5' to 3'. So, now, look at it. I can set a question here and just say that which of the two strands am I going to have continuous production or synthesis of another strand? Continuous DNA replication. Continue that. The strand that will just be produced, that will be synthesized, will be continuous. It won't be broken. I will now ask myself that which of these two strands that when I start synthesizing, I will be moving in 5' to 3'. Write the word synthesis. Synthesis. This S look like letter 5. Can you see? When you write synthesis. So this is how all the movement that will be continuous will start or will look like 5' to 3'. Look at the way they wrote it here. 5' to 3'. That's all you need. Now, I will now look at these two strands here. I will just say that if I want to synthesize for the first strand, I will be moving 5'. Can you see the way I'm moving here? And I will be moving like this, in this direction, to 3'. Because whatsoever strand I'm synthesizing must be complementary to the template one, the strand I'm using as the template. So this is the strand I'm synthesizing now. Can you see it? 5' to 3'. So this is the strand I will be using as my template. So this one you are seeing here, you call it template strand. Can you see it? This is it. Template strand. This is your template strand. Can you see? That's the template strand. If you look at the code on all this one that you synthesize here, it will look like the one that is below. This is 5 prime. This is also 5 prime. All the codes also will look alike, except the fact that you will be having U here, and you won't have U on this one. It's only U that you will not have here, U and T and the likes. So that's just the only thing that will change. Do you get me? So they look alike in terms of direction. So because they look alike, I can easily look at the code on this second strand and compare it with the code on this synthesized one. Two of them will look alike. Therefore, I will be calling this lower strand coding strand. This is a coding strand. What it means is that I can just look at the code and copy the code on the any other strand that is synthesized, or if at all I want to make reference to messenger RNA and the like. Sorry that I was relating it to messenger RNA. Please permit me to just make that reference, because I just want to show you the synthesis, how you think around it, that we have template strand, we have the coding strand. I will still bring it down to DNA replication proper. Do you get me? So just for you to have an idea that there is something called the template strand, there is something called the coding strand. How do I know? The synthesis is the same for all of them. It was going to move in 5 prime to 3 prime direction. All you need to do is just to check, this is 3 prime, this is 5 prime. So if at all I want to synthesize, I want to use this upper strand now, I will be moving 5 prime to 3 prime. So this one will be continuous. Now, if at all I want to synthesize using the lower one, this one will now be 5 prime. Yeah, can you see where my 5 prime here is? And this will be my 3 prime. And this will now be going like this. But this one will be in a discontinuous fashion and the likes. So that is what you have here. Do you get me? So this is it. Can you see the way this one is going? Is going like this, while this one is moving like this. So this is a continuous strand. This is a discontinuous strand. All right, so that's just by the way. Now let's look at the DNA replication proper. Now you have an idea about the direction. It must be 5 prime. All the direction in the exam that you'll be using is 5 prime to 3 prime. 5 prime, 3 prime, 5 prime, 3 prime. So when they give you any strand, you are just like, what do you say I should synthesize? Another strand of DNA, 5 prime to 3 prime. Another strand, a strand of RNA, 5 prime to 3 prime. All your synthesis must be in 5 prime to 3 prime direction. That's just a simple rule that you can put at the back of your mind. All right, so that's just by the way. Now come to the process for the DNA replication. So we are not talking about RNA yet. This is a DNA replication. Number 1, and on each area, I will be bringing out the possible question you are expecting. Very simple stuff. The first one is origin of replication. Origin of replication. Now, the origin of replication, what it means is that on this DNA, where is it going to begin from? Now, this is the point you need. All right. So the first point you need is that region is going to have something. You call it AT-rich sequence. Let me show you how the thing will be. They will just give you a strand like this. They will now put all manner of nucleotide on it. You will now see at a particular place, you will be seeing A, T, A, T. Then they will see another this thing. It's going to be a long strand for those that have seen question before or something like. You just see 80, 80, 80 at a particular point. Then they can label it option A. Then option B, they can choose another region. Option C, another region. They will now say which of the using the diagram above or something, or in the picture or in the exhibit or something, where will the origin, which of the following is most likely going to be the origin of replication? It is this AT-rich sequence region. That is where the origin is going to be. 80, 80, 80, 80, 80. That's where you are going to see it. So that's going to be your answer. That's your first question. They will just give it. Just where is it going to begin? Just go for this AT-rich. So if you can just pick that, we are fine. The second point you want to take into the exam is that they will give you both human cell and one prokaryotic cell. Maybe one bacteria or something. They shall give you. They will now tell you that they want to study the replication process in the two of them. That they notice that the rate of replication in the woman cell or something is actually maybe faster or whatsoever. If I thought it begins, it's actually faster or something like that. Whereas the one for the prokaryotic is actually slower or something. They now realize that, they will now ask that, okay, what do you think is responsible for that? So what is responsible for that? So what is responsible for that is that why it is faster in eukaryotic cells, because you have multiple regions for the origin. You imagine that you want to own a farmland, and you are now like, Dr. Festus, you start here. Dr. Shegun, you start there. Dr. Sheun, you start over there. So we are going to meet one another. Can you see? I just start the replication process. I will meet Dr. Shegun. Then Dr. Shegun also will continue and meet Dr. Sheun. And that's how all of us, because we are starting at different, so multiple. Compared to prokaryote, prokaryote is actually only single area for the origin of replication. So it will be slower in prokaryote and faster in eukaryote. These are the two questions you are expecting here. Those are just anyhow you want to frame it. Those are the two questions that even when you yourself become professor, that's what you will set at the USMLE step 1 level. There is really any other thing they want to set there. Those are just the two possible questions you are looking for. Just this I illustrated here. They will just give you, so that when you see the story, it will now ring a bell in your head and be like, this is what they are trying to test it. So that's just by the way. Let's just come to replication fork. I hope I pronounce this very well, because I have problem pronouncing letter F and F or something. I don't even know the difference between them. But that's just by the way. That's just me. So if at all you think I don't pronounce some words correctly, please forgive me. So just forgive me on that. You can pronounce it better or them better. So replication fork.
I'm sorry, sir. I couldn't get that multiple and that simple. That's for the prokaryote
Okay.
and eukaryote. I'm sorry, sir.
Let me show you. I will just use a simple diagram. It doesn't mean that diagram is correct. I will just use a simple diagram. So let us say that this is DNA. Permit me to just use one strand. This is another DNA. So this is prokaryote. This is eukaryote. For the prokaryote, it's just going to start on one region. For the eukaryote, it is multiple. So if multiple, I have multiple areas where the replication is beginning for the eukaryote. It will be faster. Division of labor. Let's do it together. For the prokaryotes, only one region. Someone also wants to ask question. So most of the time when you stop me frequently like this, I lose my thinking because I need to think. Sorry to explain to you so that I'll be able to remember all the point to give to you. All right. Okay. Do you get the explanation here now? So this one will be faster for the eukaryote.
Dr. Festus. And Dr. Festus, sorry, I have to drag you back a little. I tried to raise my hand to get your attention.
I'm not seeing the. Okay, ask your question.
You talked about this concept of direction being very important.
Yes.
And the way you explained it, I don't think I got it correctly.
Okay.
Can you please go over it again?
All right. So I will explain again. You see, this is the DNA. But first of all, before I go to your question, the person that asked question around the origin of replication, do you get it now?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay,
sir.
so this is settled. So let me show you the direction again. So in the exam, they will just give you one kind, what do you call his name? Strand. And just any direction they ask you in the exam is 5' to 3'. Just let it be registered. So what does that mean? This is a strand. Bam. This is DNA. 3', 5'. This is 5', 3'. This is the DNA. This is how the DNA is. So they now say that, let me assume that you want to synthesize another strand. Like which of them do I even want to focus on? You want to focus on the one that will produce a continuous strand. And don't forget your synthesis must go in 5' to 3' direction. So how will it now be? Please look at me. This upper strand if I want to synthesize a complementary strand to it, this one will be in 5 prime, and I will go like this to 3 prime direction. So it shows that in the exam, I will focus on the upper strand, because this is the only one that will allow me to synthesize in 5 prime to 3 prime direction. I will ignore the lower one. Can you see the way you look at it? Yeah, I know you want to think about discontinuous strand and all manner of stuffs and the likes. Synthesis. You don't need to bother yourself. So this one that will allow you to synthesize in 5 prime to 3 prime direction is going to be the one that the question is most likely going to be focusing on. So if they give you the 2 strand like this and you want to choose which strand will I focus on in the exam, it is the one that will allow you to move in 5 prime to 3 prime direction. Now, another point here is that when you want to look at all the options, you also want to focus on the options that are arranged in 5 prime to 3 prime direction until proven otherwise. Now, Festus, what do you mean by proven otherwise? If they want you to think in 3 prime to 5 prime direction, opposite, they will label the option as 3 prime. They will now list all those nucleotides that are there and now write 5 prime at the end. If they want you to think in 5 prime, they will write 5 prime here, list all the nucleotide, and now put 3 prime here. If they do not put 3 prime or 5 prime in the option, they just list all those nucleotide strand, they just list them like that, you must focus on the one that is read in 5 prime to 3 prime direction. Can you see? So if they are not giving you any direction, you focus on 5 prime to 3 prime in your head. If they want you to think otherwise, they will calibrate the option and say that option A is labeled 3 prime to 5 prime. Option B is labeled 5 prime to 3 prime. Option C is labeled 3 prime to 5 prime. They will show you. But if you check all the options, you don't see any calibration there. Polarity. In that regard, you focus on the one that is written out in 5 prime to 3 prime direction, because that is the fashion you use in synthesizing anything. That is the fashion you use to synthesize. Anything you want to synthesize, you produce it in 5 prime to 3 prime. You produce it in 5 prime to 3 prime. Let me make a point again. I want you to listen. Now, I just made a point that Festus said that anything I want to produce, I produce it in 5 prime to 3 prime. I mean anything. Anything you want to produce at all in this regard, you produce it in 5 prime to 3 prime direction. Now, that is anything. How can you now tell me that look at it, this is what I produce, 5 prime to 3 prime. It shows that I will first of all produce the nucleotide that are here. I will first of all attach the nucleotide closer to 5 prime before I will be attaching the nucleotide that are closer to 3 prime. You are now telling me, they now ask you that which of the following option is actually the nucleotide in the strand that will be produced. As a matter of fact, I will need to go and focus on the one that is calibrated in 5 prime to 3 prime. Why? Because it is the one, these are the ones I will first of all lay down before I will lay the one I will lay down the ones that are closer to 3 prime. This is I start from here and end here. How can you now tell me that it is produced in 3 prime to 5 prime when I end it? Am I going to start from my end point? You don't start from your end point. That is the reason why this option will be wrong, why this one will be correct. Because you start your production from 5 prime and you move towards 3 prime. So, under which condition will I now be picking 3 prime to 5 prime? If the question asks you to choose so, to do so, that is when you will be picking 3 prime to 5 prime. So, all your thinking in the exam is 5 prime to 3 prime, 5 prime to 3 prime, 5 prime to 3 prime. They ask you, how will the messenger RNA be produced? 5 prime to 3 prime. How will the replication be this thing? 5 prime to 3 prime. This one, that one, 5 prime to 3 prime. You now say, until proven otherwise. And that's that. Do you get it now?
Yes, thank you very
Lovely.
much.
Lovely. So let's go to the next area. So that's for that. Then you come down here. Let me show you. Sorry for taking your time. Okay, replication fork. There is nothing about this one. The same fork you are using to eat your yam and egg, for those that have yam and egg to eat, but people like us that don't have. God, sorry. So we use our hand, but even our fingers, God even produced it. Oh, it's actually looking like a fork. So replication fork is just looking like this. This is the DNA. Can you see? So when you want to make a fork out of it, so it's going to open up like this, and you will now see something like this. So this is now this area is the replication fork. Can you see? Like a fork, all those two prong fork. All right, so that's just by the way. So you are not really expecting anything here, just for you to have an idea that there's something called replication fork. Okay, next one is helicase. Helicase. So now, what is going on under helicase? Helicase is one of the enzymes, and I want you to get the gist. Let me give you the gist. That we unwind the DNA template. All these guys, they are DNA templates. So they are just DNA. So it's going to unwind them. So it shows that the hydrogen bond that are here is going to be the one to break them. Break. So that is helicase. Now, if the helicase is starting from here, is just on sipping. Can you see? It's on sipping them like you have your sip. The normal sip that you put on your shirt or your trouser. So you are now on sipping. That sip gangan that you are moving up and down, look at it as the helicase. So when you move it down, it will open up. When you move it up, it will close up. So that is helicase. So helicase unwind DNA template at replication fork. So here now, this place can be my replication fork here. It will open up. It will move down again, open up. It will move down again. That is how it will be breaking the DNA, in the hydrogen bond, small, and now unwind the DNA strand. Unwind the DNA template. Just going to half them, like divide it into two. Now, let me link it to a condition. There is a condition here that they are most likely going to portray. But you don't need to cram it. Don't cram it. You don't need the name. The name is actually Bloom syndrome. Bloom syndrome. In step 1, they will portray it. But you don't need to remember the name. So if remembering Bloom syndrome is your headache, please drop it. Nobody needs the name from you. It is this enzyme they will test. They will just say, this patient presents with this, that, blah, blah. You just start reading all manner of story. I told you, don't be carried away. So you don't need the diagnosis. You don't need it. They will now say that on further evaluation, they realize that during replication process in this patient, the DNA cannot be halved. They will say it. The DNA cannot, DNA strand cannot be separated. They will now say, which of the following enzyme is likely deficient in this patient? That's the question. So number 1, the question is Bloom syndrome, but they will never ask you that which syndrome is this. I bet it with you. It's not a syndromic exam. So they just want you to understand the basis and now think simply. Now say, there is one enzyme that is supposed to do the halving. So that enzyme is helicase. So you might have even forgotten the name of the syndrome, but you will still get the answer. That's why some people will pass and you ask them, which syndrome is it? You just say, I don't know. Because you don't need them. This is what you need in the exam. That's that. Okay. So that's for the helicase. That's how that one will be tested. Now, there is something that occurs here. There is another protein that you must note. You call it single-stranded binding protein. They will test you on it. Let me show you how this actually helps. God is so wonderful. You see, when you take the DNA like this, you separate it. Helicase has done its best. Separated. There is a tendency for them to be reannealing together. What do we mean? What do we mean by reannealing? they are coming back again. The place where hydrogen bond was broken is already reforming. So they are now coming down. They are coming together again like this. Can you see? Can you see? They are coming together. They are coming together. That's reannealing. And God now thought about it. Was like, for the replication to occur very well, these things still need to be separated so that those enzymes that need to move around will be able to move. I don't need the reannealing. And it's not like, to prevent that reannealing, I'm going to drop some stones on each strand so that the strand will not be able to move closer. They will not be able to move closer to themselves. And those stones that he was dropping, they are single-stranded binding protein. Those stones bind to single strand of DNA. So you will see them here. Pam, pam. They will be dropped here. They'll just be dropped. So they can come together. Now, let me set a question for you here. The question is this. This patient present with this, blah, blah. They will list all manner of stuff. They will now say that with further evaluation, they notice that during replication, that immediately after the helicase unwind, there is reannealing. Which of the following is likely deficient? That's the question. You now say, there are some stones that are supposed to keep those strands separated so that they don't come together. Those stones are likely deficient here. And that is single-stranded binding. So you won't overthink before you just look at it and just say, These are single-stranded binding protein deficiency now. You just pick the C option here, they say correct. That's USMLE for you. They will just go and link it to one condition that you don't even know you don't even know that thing can present in a particular way in a patient. They will give you the presentation. So when they give you the presentation, don't be carried away. So don't be carried away at all. So just look at it. They will explain it further. You now know this single-stranded binding protein. That's that. Okay. Or they can even make reference to degradation by the nucleus and all manner of stuff, that they realize that they are actually degraded and all manner of stuff when they are separated. To prevent them from being degraded, single-stranded binding protein will also do the magic. Then you come down to DNA topo isomerase. DNA topo isomerase. I have a way of illustrating this, not in any way to just let me put it in a way I think you'll be able to understand, so that when you read the question, it will make a lot of sense to you. I just want you to look at the story, not from the context of the person saying it, but from the context of what I am saying. You know, sometimes when women want to, I'm just going to give you my own personal experience. Not in any way to throw my personal life at you. No, I don't do that. Okay, so my wife, sometimes she will ask me to come and help her, occasionally anyways, to losing her hair, the plaited one. All right, please pay attention to the story. So maybe I just finish tutorial like this. I'll just be like, okay, yeah, you sit down with my frown face and oh my, so yeah, bring your hair. Let me help you out. So you pick the stuff and you are now trying to loosen the hair. That is the work of the helicase. Are you with me? You are trying to loosen it to separate them. And I'll be like, yeah, are you separating? Can you see it? You say, I'm seeing it. You know, sometimes you get to a level and you realize that you can't go any further. And I'll say, in Yoruba, eti lo loju po. God is so wonderful. God knows that at a point, this process, the nature, lo loju po, like, is going to be, anyhow, interpret it. So, like, you know, when you are trying to loosen it and suddenly you can't just go any further, what I do is that I will now be like, can I get the scissors? I will now look for one of the strand in her hair and cut it. When I cut it, it will now loosen out. That is topoisomerase 1. That's what it will do. So when you are separating it, because you want to, you are loosening the air, you want to quickly finish it to have your own time. You now hold the first strand. Let me show you. You hold the first strand like this. You hold the second strand like this. You just pull them apart to quickly separate them. So this is what you are going to see. You are now going to have what you call super coiling here. Can you see? Super coiling. At that level, you won't really be able to separate them again with that your comb or whatsoever they are using or you are using. So at that moment, your partner will be saying that they are etymological, like maybe you've dismantled the direction. I don't know how to put it. So in Yoruba, like you can't go any further. That's the same thing that DNA will experience. Now, God now put the solution there. That solution is topoisomerase. The same solution you launch in your bedroom is the same thing topoisomerase is going to launch. Topoisomerase will now come here, cut one of the strand. When you cut one of the strand, something will happen. You will be able, that one strand you cut will now unwind itself around and the thing will loosen out. Then it's going to join them together. That is the function of topoisomerase 1, to remove what you call supercoiling. Supercoiling has occurred. When you cut one strand, it will be removed. Now, what about topoisomerase 2? There is something different about that one. You know that if you take that hair with your partner and you cut the two strand, this place is already, look at my cursor, this place is already super coiled. If you cut this area, there is something that will happen. The thing will be dancing, like it will be unwinding. It will now be gyrating. You know, when something is gyrating, it will be just be turning, twisting, untwisting itself. That's what I wanted to say. It will be untwisting. So you have untwisting dancing when you cut the two here. Therefore, let us give the topoisomerase 2 a very peculiar, well-decorated name. And this is the name that you can actually see them give it. DNA gyrase. Because it's going to cut the two strand. If you also cut the two strand, go and cut your partner's hair. Cut the supercoil and cut it. You will see the hair will be dancing. That is if the the strands are not angry with you. If they are angry with you, they won't dance. You'll just be looking at you like this. That you did it. And your partner will be shouting that, why did you cut my hair? Why did you cut my hair? So that is gyrase. So when you get into exam, they mention DNA gyrase. You have an idea of what they are trying to say. And that is for the DNA topoisomerase. 1 and 2. So just know them. Which other point do you want to take into the exam here? There are some drugs that will go and inhibit the topoisomerase. One of them, the one set, they can inhibit topoisomerase 1. You see they end with 1. Irinotecan or TEC1. You can look at them like that. Irinotecan, Topotec1. The way a Chinese man will have pronounced them. TEC1. Topotec1. Maybe. So, irinotecan, topotecan. Why? The drugs that will inhibit topoisomerase 2, you will see something like both side, post side, both side, both strand. Eto both side, etoposide. Teni both side, both strand. Teni post side. So, the exam we mention the drug. They will just say the patient is on etoposide. Which of the following enzyme is inhibited? If God will have his way, you will just see only topoisomerase 2 in the exam. They will not put topoisomerase 1. So that confusion will be removed. But if they put topoisomerase 1, topoisomerase 2, you will just say this is topoisomerase 2. So that's just by the way. This drug will be useful in eukaryote. So what about in prokaryote? The drug that will inhibit topoisomerase 2 is fluoroquinolone. Can you see? So they will ask about the mechanism of action of fluoroquinolone. So they expect you to actually know it. So note this. So these are the questions you are expecting. So the mechanism of action of topoisomerase, the drugs so those are just the things you are expecting there. All right. So the next thing I want you to note is these two enzymes. and you must look at them together. Always remember that you look at them together. So primase, DNA polymerase 3. Let me give you the gist so that you'll be able to reason it out in the exam. Primase, DNA polymerase 3. One of them is supposed to prime. The other one is supposed to do the main work. It's more or less like the story of the John the Baptist and Jesus. If you look at it for the Christians, so if you look at it, you see that one of them first of all came as a forerunner, lay down the foundation, prime everybody. Someone is coming after me. This one, that one, this one, and the likes. Then the main one now come. So technically, you can look at it like if John the Baptist did not come, possibly maybe Jesus wouldn't have come. Permit me to just look at it like that. Permit me to look at it like that with you, just for you to have an idea. The same way here, and you are going to see the way the question will come. Primase must first of all come before the DNA polymerase 3 will come. Now, if the question says the DNA polymerase 3 is not in the system, it's not functional, which of the following enzyme is likely deficient? Primase. That's it. So primase must first of all come to prime for DNA polymerase 3 to initiate replication. So if the question says the DNA polymerase 3 is in the system but it's not doing anything, most likely primase is not in that system. It has not primed. So the work of DNA polymerase 3 is pegged on primase. Think about it. Set any question you want to set there. So patient present with this, that. With further evaluation, they realize that DNA replication is not occurring. And with further analysis, they realize that DNA polymerase is sufficient in the system. However, they are not working. DNA polymerase 3 is there and is not doing the process. Primase is not there. Because the primase must make the RNA primer for DNA polymerase to work. So if DNA polymerase is not working, most likely the RNA primer. Expect this question in the exam. And that's just these two. You just look at it and rehearse around it and think freely on them. It's a story. Okay, DNA polymerase 3, what is it going to do? Did you say that DNA polymerase 3 is the major enzyme that everybody has been waiting for? Yes, it's the major enzyme everyone has been waiting for from generation to generation. So it's the one that will do the magic. Is the one that will do what you are looking for. You say, what am I looking for? Is the one that will produce another strand. In which direction? 5' to 3'. Expect that question. In which direction? I don't expect you to make the mistake of saying in 3' to 5'. You don't need to make that mistake. You already know the direction everybody has been looking out for. 5' to 3'. It is in that direction DNA polymerase will lay the new strand. Now, when he's done laying the new strand in this 5' to 3', he's also going to proofread. When you want to proofread, sometimes you just want to go back. You just want to go back. If you want to retrace your step, you go and you trace it backward. Where am I getting it wrong? So we're going to proofread in 3' to 5' direction. So if I thought there is now any problem, so he's going to cut it off. He's going to cut any error out. Cut it out in this 3' to 5' while proofreading. And these are the things you are expecting there. Just these 2 points I highlighted here. One, the fact that primase is needed to lay down the RNA primer for polymerase 3 to work, DNA polymerase 3 to work. So you never forget this primase. I will show you the RNA primer. All right. Then the DNA polymerase 3 will work in 5' to 3' direction. Then it's going to proofread in opposite direction. And that's all. All right. Let me show you in the diagram, in a simple diagram. You see, this is actually the RNA primer. Can you see this yellow stuff? RNA primer, RNA primer, RNA primer, RNA primer. Can you see them? So it is when this RNA primer is laid down that the RNA, the DNA polymerase is going to now work. Can you see it working? DNA polymerase 3. Never forget the number 3. It's now going to work. Can you see it working? This is it. DNA polymerase working. Can you see? This is RNA primer. All right. So if they give you something like this diagram in the exam and you realize that no RNA primer is there, so, and you realize that DNA polymerase is not working, then now say which of the following enzyme is likely deficient that is making the replication process not to occur? The answer will be the primase. Primase is not there. Okay, so that's that. RNA is not supposed to be part of DNA, so we need to find a way to remove it. Because if you look at my DNA, you are not supposed to see any piece of RNA there, despite the fact that you have RNA primer there. So something must have been chopping it off when the whole process is complete. So can you see? Chop it off. It will chop it off. It will chop it off. It will chop it off. So which enzyme is going to help in the chopping off of all this RNA primer? So the enzyme, they will also test it in the exam. The enzyme is DNA polymerase 1. Now let me set a question here. They will just say, this patient present with this, and this. They will not say that with further evaluation, they realize that the DNA of the patient contains a lot of RNA, maybe some RNA molecules and all manner of stuff. And this is not due to it's not due to mutation and the likes. And you are now wondering, where is Uracil coming from? Where is this one coming from? And the question is saying that it's not due to radiation. The patient was not exposed to chemical substance, radiation, and the likes. Where are all these things coming from? You say that is how the patient was born, and the patient has been like that. The DNA of the patient has a lot of Uracil. Where are they coming from? All of them. You now say, which of the following enzyme is likely deficient in this patient? Your answer will now be DNA polymerase 1. DNA polymerase 1 was supposed to chop off the RNA primer, but it's not there to chop it off. So that's when you now go for this. You get it? So that's how you do the thinking, and that's how the question here will come. Can you see that it's actually simple? You are just the one overthinking. Now, the second to the last point here is about the DNA ligase. Look at the name, ligase. All right. So ligase is more or less like I want to join things together. I want to ligate. Do you get it? Ligation. In surgery. So maybe something like that. You can look at it. Or close it up. Close up the gap. Close up whatsoever that is there. Or something. You can look at it. Anyhow you want to look at it. So DNA ligase. So this discontinuous strand for this thing that is produced, the Okazaki fragment. We call it Okazaki fragment. This is a strand, this is a strand, this is a strand, there's another strand, there's another strand. All of them are there. We need something that will join all of them together. All those fragments. Something that will join all of them together. That thing that will link all of them together, that will join all those fragments together, is DNA ligase. Can you see? DNA ligase. So if the question says there are a lot of gaps, then maybe the DNA ligase is not present, and that's that. The next question that I put an arrow on here that you should expect in the exam is telomerase. God is so wonderful. God is so wonderful. God is so wonderful. God has already, sometimes you need to look at the nature. You need to look at the nature for you to understand the way. Yeah. So for you to understand the way.
I'm sorry, Daddy.
It's all right. All right, sorry. So you need to look at the nature for you to understand the way most of things that exist around us actually operate. There is something peculiar about this telomerase. So God knows that has already programmed our body to replicate. Do you get it? So you only see it in eukaryote anyways. So has already programmed our body to replicate. But as we replicate, we have the tendency to lose one or two genetic material, genetic components. So maybe something we just cut off and all manner of stuff when you replicate. Because there is no way you are going to break a glass and join it together and something wouldn't have lost. There is no way you are going to take a building and break it down and build it again and something wouldn't have lost. He looked at it and it's like, as this body is replicating itself, genetic material is most likely going to be getting lost. Let me add something to it, that if at all anything will be lost, it is from that thing that something will be lost, not from the genetic material. Let me show you in a very simple diagram. Let me assume that this is where everybody's genetic material is. You now have a particular component that is looking like a tail here, that if at all anything if this thing should replicate, maybe it can replicate and we have something like this. So this tail now look a bit shorter. Can you see? So instead of us losing material in the main component, we are losing it in this tail. That is actually how our body is programmed. So what is that thing that is maintaining this tail? You call it telomerase. God put almighty telomerase there. That telomerase, this person is very intelligent. I don't want intelligence to leave their family. This person liver is like this. I don't want that liver to lose the shape. This person's eye is looking like this, supposed to produce this also protein. That protein, I don't want it to be dysfunctional. Telomerase ensure that with replication, the genetic material is not lost. So that thing that you are going to see, telomerase will now come and add this tail to it, that if at all anything will be lost in this tail. So telomerase ensure this tail is there. All right, what is that tail? So telomerase is more or less like a reverse transcriptase. So what it does is just it add this DNA tag. Can you see tag? TTAGG, TTAGGG, just going to add it to it. So the thing will just be there. TTAGG, just going to tag the DNA. All right, where is he going to add it? To the tail. Where will the tail possibly be? If the synthesis is occurring 5' to 3', definitely it's going to be to the 3' end. So it's going to add it here. All right, now think about it. You imagine that telomerase is not present. Telomerase is not present. So the question we just said that with every replication, there is loss of genetic material in this patient. They now say that, what do you think is possibly responsible? They now say, telomerase is deficient. And that's that. This patient present with this, that, blah, shall paint all manner of stuff. Don't be carried away. The question will now say that, with further evaluation, they notice that with every replication, there is always loss of genetic material, or the genetic component is shrinking, is reducing in size, in length. And now say, which of the following enzyme is like, before you start eating your temporal part of your head and start shouting, God, have mercy on me. So it's actually telomerase that is deficient. Okay, there are some cells that replicate rapidly, so you expect them to have high level of telomerase. What are those cells? So maybe progenitor cells, stem cells. They are supposed, for them to maintain, you call them stem cells because they must contain the original genetic material. So if I thought they are replicating, they must not lose it. If they lose it, by one disease or the other, the epithelial lining of the GI is removed. Do you get me? The stem cells want to push out some cells, so just to replace those ones that have been damaged and the likes. You now imagine pushing out some cells that are different. How do you think that one will be? That is why you see the activity of telomerase. It will now be very high in stem cells. You imagine you rub your skin, maybe a patient actually fall, the fellow maybe just shall lose the upper part of the skin and the likes, and when the skin wants to shall replicate, maybe it's putting another cell there, maybe a cell that is secreting one particular sub. How do you think that will be? So to maintain the same architecture, the stem cells need to be maintained. Telomerase activity need to be high in them. That's the most tested concept. Stem cell. Another one condition they can test with respect to telomerase is a place where the telomerase activity is low. You see this one being low in a patient that age easily. Do you get me? So it's low. So that age easily. So you see them in progeria people. You know, those you know them in Nollywood. So they just age quite easily. So they age quite easily because as their cells are replicating, they're actually losing their genetic material. So they now die easily. All right, so that's progeria. So they will paint a scenario of the progeria. They will paint the scenario of stem cells. Another one is the cancer. So cancer cells also have high level of telomerase, because that is why when a cancer cell metastasizes somewhere, it will still continue to do what it was doing in his father's house. Why? Because the telomerase has maintained the genetic component of that cancer cell. Is maintained. So they will link the question to cancer cell, stem cell. Those are the things they will. So the telomerase activity is very high. So when you are reading all these questions, you're actually reading in context, not in the sense that, okay, I'm looking for stuff or something like that. No, you are not looking for stuff actually. You are basically looking for the context in which that question is set, because they will always give you a story. Do you get it? All right, so that's telomerase for you. Someone raise up his hand. Any question? Okay, no question. Okay, quickly ask your question. Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay, so that's just about the telomere. That's how all this area will be tested. So in our materials, we have all manner of questions for you that you can see. You can see them. They're already bringing them out. Can you see? So it's just your duty to now pick them one by one. And now, so in that our material, we solved, I think all of them, we solved all of them. So how many are these questions? They are quite high in number. I think they may even be up to like 12 or so. You can solve like 12 or 13 questions here and not understand how the question will come. The thing is that it might take you 3 or 4 days to finish our biochemistry material, but your thinking will be different. You will understand what is expected of you. Instead of me to just come within 2 hours or 3 hours, I just formit whatsoever I want to formit out. You will understand and be like, okay, then, but you will not be able to reason the way you should reason. All right, so that's just because you need questions to conceptualize most of those concepts. Now, you come down to the DNA repair. Now, with respect to DNA repair, we have double-strand DNA repair system. We have the single-strand DNA repair system. I will show you what is going on in each of them and how you will understand, or how the question will come, that for you to know that, oh, this is actually DNA repair. Okay. So for the double-strand, let's start with that. We have the non-homologous end joining, homologous recombination. So in the exam, they will just ask you that this thing that is occurring here, is it non-homologous end joining or homologous recombination? So there must be a scenario you will see that will tell you that this is non-homologous end joining. What is non-homologous end joining? As you are sitting there, as I'm sitting here, by one way or the other, one reason or the other, our DNA is actually being damaged. Then it will be repaired. So now, for the double strand, if the 2 strands of the DNA is damaged or are damaged, and you want to repair it, there are 2 ways of looking at the repair. I may look at it and be like, can I get a template for me to know how to join them together? Let me illustrate it for you, for those that may be looking lost. So these are the 2 strands. Look at them. Then they are broken like this. Can you see? All right. Let me label this 1, 2, 2. Can you see? So because this is the first strand, this is second strand. So for the non-homologous, what it means is that you are not using any template to check and be like, okay, this is what is here, this is what is here, this is what is here, this is how they should be joined. The body is just joining them anyhow. That is non-homologous. So let me show you the possibility that you can have here. You can actually have 1, 2, 1, 2 being joined together normally. You can also have this 1, 1, 2, 2. Can you see? You can also have something like this: 1, 2, 2, 1. See, 1, 2, 2, 1. It has been switched. Let us assume that you have another DNA somewhere. It can be brought closer and be joined because you don't have any templates. That's how so many people run their this thing. Let me keep my mouth shut. So you don't have any template that you are using. So you will just be doing things anyhow you like. That's what is going on here. So just joining them anyhow. How do you think the DNA will look? Will look tattered, battered, chattered. Will look unkept, unhygienic. If there is anything like that. Will look fatigued. Will look worried. Will look depressed. That's how the DNA will look. Now, let's come down to the way the patient will now look. If the DNA of the patient is already looking like this, how do you think the patient will look? The patient is going to develop a condition you call ataxia. I mean, you see this thing actually being dysfunctional. Do you get me? It's dysfunctional. It's one of the processes that is supposed to occur but it's dysfunctional in what you call ataxia, telangiectasia. I made reference to the way I put it, like tata, this one, that, because of this condition that I want to illustrate to you. So that when you see it, you just know that this is non-homologous and joining problem. It's a problem. So what is ataxia, telangiectasia? You see the patient, just from the name, ataxia, will be walking like will be having ataxic gait. Do you get it? That's number one. Then you will see all manner of telangiectasia, all those small vessels everywhere, dilated and the likes. Do you get me? You can see them on the eye, you can see them on the skin, you can see them everywhere. The patient will have cerebellar ataxia, uncoordinated head and eye movement, telangiectasia on the conjunctiva, on the face, and the likes. So immediately you see someone walking out, that's the same way possibly the DNA is working. You can look at it like that. So once you see them make reference to ataxia, telangiectasia, you say that is from non-homologous end joining problem. And that's that. That's all. So they will portray this ataxia, telangiectasia for you in the exam. They will now ask you about this. That's the question. So it's not like maybe you are expecting something exceptional. That's just the question. Now, come to the homologous recombination. Homologous recombination means that they are broken like this. But you will now go on, the body will carry, the cell will bring another DNA, that same DNA that is not broken. We'll now be looking at it. We'll be looking at it and be copying and be like, this is how this one should be joined. This is how this one should be joined. This is how this one should be joined. So this one has a reference. The non-homologous end joining has no reference. There is something I left out to tell you, which I actually explained. The other problem the patient in non-homologous end joining can have, sorry to bring you back a bit, translocation. Translocation. Can you see translocation occurring? Then some genetic material might be lost. Because you don't even know that they are lost. How will you know? Because you were not comparing them. If I give you my first aid, you have your own first aid. Though. I just give you my first aid. Maybe some pages have been lost, but you don't know. Because there is no any other first aid you are comparing it to. Do you get me? So some genetic material may be lost here, and the body will not know. We shall join them together like that. So they will test those ones too. So for the homologous, you have something you are comparing them. Now, two. So now here, if I thought there is a problem with homologous recombination, how will the patient present? I just say that homologous recombination is defective in homologous structures. So now look at the female. What are the structures you can say they are homologous? There are two. You have one on this side, one on that side. Usually, like, why am I saying female? Because basically you will use that one to quickly know those stuff. Because I have two lungs, you have two lungs. I'm a male, you are a female. You have two lungs, I have two lungs. Do you get it? But the females have breast, it doesn't mean I don't have breast. So they have two breasts, they have two ovaries. I don't have ovaries. Do you get me? So in homologous recombination, so once you see the question talking about the patient is having breast cancer, is having ovarian cancer, is having this, they are now talking about, they are making reference to DNA repair system that is affected. You just say that homologous recombination is defective. And you identify that easily by just seeing the question that is talking about homologous structures. That's all. Okay, so if you look at, that's how this one will just test you on this homologous and non-homologous. Single strand. So this one is not double now, it's single. And you don't need to cram much here. So what you have here is, the first thing you have here is nucleotide excision repair. Nucleotide excision repair. Please pay attention to what I want to show you here. Nucleotide excision repair. There is one enzyme that the question is most likely 99.9% possibility that enzyme is what will be tested. In that, if I thought the question is about nucleotide excision repair, and that enzyme is specific endonucleases. Specific endonucleases. You just nod your head. How will I know that this question is about nucleotide excision repair? There is a condition that the question is going to make reference to before I show you what is going on here. And that condition is seroderma pigmentosum. Seroderma, I will come back to seroderma pigmentosum. I will show you a video that will help you to internalize this very well. Seroderma pigmentosum. Now, the enzyme you are expecting them to test in the exam here is specific endonuclease, but the question will revolve around seroderma pigmentosum. So you must know how that seroderma pigmentosum will look like. When they now say which of the following enzyme is most likely is deficient in this patient or something like that, you just go for you just see it there, endonuclease, endonucleases, endonucleases, endonuclease. That's the answer. It will just come out. Now, what do we need the endonucleases for? You work in the sun. I work in the sun. Unless you are in a place that there is no sun. The UV radiation that is quite damaging, that is very bad, is actually affecting the DNA in one way or the other. What is it doing to the DNA? It's actually going to be making some nucleotide to be, usually the pyrimidines, to be forming dimer. It will be causing dimerization of some pyrimidines. You now remember, cut the pyramid. What are these pyrimidines? You can see in DNA. Cytosine and thymine. Cytosine and thymine. So you will see the question will just show dimerization of the DNA strand. Let me show you how it will look. You will see they will give you the strand A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. So these are all nucleotides. They will now come to a particular region and now put a bond there. They will put a bond like this. Can you see? And you are like, something is going on here. It's like this. If you check those nucleotides, they will be pyrimidine. They are now forming a dimer. Let me show you here. They are forming a dimer. Can you see it here? Can you see the way? This is how they will bring it. The frame they will give you might not look like this. It might be the normal strand. You will just see the bond will just be here. Once you see, that is the dimerization you are talking about. They will now say that which of the following enzyme is most likely deficient in this patient? Endonuclease. That's all. Can you see? And the condition of that patient is most likely going to be seroderma pigmentosum. So I also form dimer. You also form dimer. But your own, we have endonucleases that remove those dimers. But this patient with seroderma pigmentosum don't have the endonuclease. So they are not having the endonuclease to remove these dimers. So that is nucleotide excision repair defect. Nucleotide excision repair defect. So they will ask you for this name in the exam. Nucleotide excision repair is defective. Let me show you xeroderma pigmentosum. I know you don't want to see, but in one way or the other, we'll still show you. We know you just don't want to see anything, but let's still show you. Xeroderma pigmentosum. So let me show you so that when you see it, it will make a lot of sense. Let me show you. This one is shorter. I want you to look at the way this is. You may not hear anything.
So that's how they're growing so fast. They're hiring freelancers. Look what they're doing with AI experts.
I jumped from a bridge. I said, what?
The camera is on in front of us.
Where?
You reading the
Right in
subtitles?
front of us. Straight in front of us.
To me, too much light on top of me. That's my concern.
No, there's only a little bit of light.
Concern
But what
of this patient is too much light, photosensitivity. Now look at the skin. Can you see the skin? So that when you see it, during medical practice, residents, you won't be shouting, "What did you rub on your on your face?" Sorry, you say, "What did you, madam? What did you rub on your face? Which cream did you use that you are reacting to?" Someone is saying, "I'm having photosensitivity," and he's having all these pigmentations and the likes, and you are asking, "Which cream did you use that you are reacting to?" You must be funny. All right, so look at
happens if there's a lot of light?
I might get burned. I'm very independent, and if I have to do something, I don't wait for anybody. I also have this computer that has become my eyes.
All right.
Through
So I think that's okay. Just for you to have an idea, photosensitivity and skin changes and the likes. So that's how you may see the xeroderma pigmentosum. They will just paint. You can see dry skin, photosensitivity, skin cancer, and the likes. So once you see it, just see them testing which of where do you think the problem is coming from. This is the answer: nucleotide excision repair problem. So which enzyme is deficient? Specific endonuclease. These are just the simple questions they answer. All right. So the next one I want to talk about briefly is this: base excision repair. Base excision repair. So one thing we notice about the base excision repair is that the question is most likely going to come in the nature of them asking you that the what do you call it? More or less like the process. What will happen? What are the enzymes you need? This is the first one that will work. Glycosylase will work. Then endonuclease will work. Then lyase will now come and do its work. Then the polymerase beta will work. Then the ligase will do the final judgment. So that's just you see the way they put the mnemonic. That's one good thing about first aid. First aid just quickly give you an idea of things that matters and just note it. So I will advise you to note it. Do you get just this gel, please? Take it into the exam. So when you look at it, just say that which enzyme will work before another one will work before another one will work. So the problem here is that the base that is being attached is not the one that should be attached. So the body wants to remove it and put another one. So that base needs to be cut away. Do you get me? All right. So the first enzyme that's going to remove the altered base is the glycosylase. Do you get me? So glycosylase. So another thing again is that apart from the glycosylase, apart from the altered base that is supposed to be removed, so you also need to trim the edges. So you will need the one that will trim the edge 5' edge and 3' edge. 5 is like letter E, the fifth letter of the alphabet. So endonuclease is the one that will work on the 5' end, while the lyase is going to work on the 3' end. Can you see the way you are looking at it? Then polymerase will lay another base down. We come and put another base there to fill it. Then ligase will join those bases to the framework, to the frame. So that's this gel, please. So it's just for you to have an idea of how this comes. So they will just ask you about the base excision repair. Maybe something like cycle. They can link it to any condition. So you need this gel, please. Mismatch repair. There is a condition that if you go into the exam and you forget the mismatch repair, nobody will forgive you, even if you forgive yourself. And you are going to see it being tested in 1, 2, 3. I'm very sure if there is step 4, they will add it to it. And that is hereditary non-polyposis colorectal cancer. So mismatch repair is actually defective in Lynch syndrome. So Lynch syndrome is what you call this hereditary non-polyposis colorectal cancer. So that's Lynch syndrome. You see it there. So mismatch repair, you must never forget this mismatch. I don't know how you want to link them together. Just don't forget that. So the question is most likely going to be someone with colorectal cancer and the likes. So now I ask you that which of the following is most likely defective here? Mismatch repair. So now this is what your headache can be. Which one is nucleotide? Which one is base? So if you look here, nucleotide has letter T in it. So nucleotide excision also okay, we can remove excision. So nucleotide. So pigmentosome. Maybe that may help. If at all it helps. If it doesn't help, you can look for what helps. So nucleotide pigmentosome problem. So maybe seroderma pigmentosome nucleotide. So once you see it, just a nucleotide, because the nucleotide will be there. Because this is excision repair. This is also excision repair. This base is the one you will be using gel, please, that you will be applying. So mismatch is the one for the non-polyposis colorectal cancer that is hereditary. I'm most likely going to end it on the mutation in DNA, and I want you to pay attention. So let me show you the secret, what you are expecting here. So when you get our material, you can easily go through each of those stuff one by one and look at the questions. So all you need is, the problem I have with many people is that most people you are just looking for too many information. If the information is too many that you are looking for, you just want to know you want to know a lot. If you send me a question and that I don't know, I'll just tell you, I don't know. There is nothing. If you like, kill yourself. If you like, save yourself. I say I don't know. Just pick something, think simply. Don't be afraid to miss the question. Just simplicity. That simplicity is all you need. All right. Okay. So mutation in DNA. Look at this. Silent mutation is far less than makes sense. Makes sense is less than nonsense. Nonsense is less than frame shift. First of all, let me ask this question. Which question do you think they are most likely going to test in the exam? Mutation, or what kind of mutation do you think they will test in the exam? Which one do you think? Based on this, just look at it. Which one do you think they are most likely going to test?
Frame shift.
Frame shift. So the question is most likely going to be frame shift. There is no hard or fast rule about it. It's most likely just going to be frame shift. So you are going into the exam. You want to have an understanding of the frame shift. That's just what it means. Oh, frame shift. Because common thing occurs commonly. All right. So frame shift, your focus doesn't mean we are not going to look at the others. Okay. Now look at this type of single nucleotide mutation. Just one nucleotide. The kind of mutation you can see there. So it can be transition, it can be transversion. Transition just means that you are changing one purine to another purine. Transversion is you are changing one purine to pyrimidine or pyrimidine to purine. That's all. Now look at this single nucleotide substitution. You have the silent mutation. So silent mutation, I told you, is most likely going to affect the third nucleotide. Third position of a codon. That's where the mutation will be. So the mutation is there, but the protein is still the same. nothing has changed. The mutation is there, but nothing has changed. So they will just say there is a particular protein. The total amino acid that you have on that protein is 1,000, and there is a mutation that occurs. The total amino acid you are seeing in the new protein is also 1,000, and all of them are arranged in a normal way. What kind of mutation is that? Silent mutation. Nothing has changed except for that third position. Or they ask you that which part of the codon do you think the mutation is occurring? First position of the codon, second position of the codon, third position of the codon, the entire codon, or something like that. So the answer will be third position of the codon. Warburg hypothesis. Do you get it? So that's for this silent. That's all you need. So you can now start linking it to anything you want to link it to. Look at the missense mutation. So in missense mutation, something happens here. The amino acid sequence is already changing. The amino acid that is supposed to be at a particular position has already changed to another amino acid. And you actually see this playing out in sickle cell. Do you get me? Where the glutamic acid is changing to phenyl. So immediately you see that amino acid actually changing. So you just be like, this is most likely missense. Now, where do you think that mutation is? That mutation is occurring at first or second position of that codon, not the third. So that is missense because amino acid has changed. So the mutation in missense is first or second. The one in silent is third. All right. Let me show you the nonsense. Will you stop that nonsense, my friend? Stop that nonsense. What you see here are the stop codons. Now, listen. You can't enter into that exam and claim you forget stop codon. It's not allowed. Even when you become the practicing physician in the United States, you won't allow it with anybody. Because these are just the facts. How will you say that you study biochemistry, you left, out of everything, you left stop codon? And they are easy to know. They are just these three. You go in, it will be in the question. Sorry that I need to talk like this so that you will know where I emphasize, where I reduce my voice. It will be in the question. Stop codon. They will give you a mutation that generates this stop codon. It will be given. So you go away. You are away. You are gone. You go away. You are away. You are gone. The reason why you must, if by cramming you must cram it, you see I put it in a box. The reason is that they will just tell you that there is a mutation that has occurred. You know, it's a single nucleotide. All right. You will now realize that the codon that is now generated is now one of these stop codon. They will now say that what kind of mutation is this? Nonsense mutation. They can also ask you that what do you think is going to happen to the protein that will be formed? The protein will be truncated. What do we mean by truncated protein? The normal protein is supposed to contain 1,000 amino acid. This one might just contain 700. Depending on where that stop codon is generated. So once you read a question that there is a particular protein, that protein normal length is 10 millimeter. Permit me to use that too. So I don't need to be correct. So they now say, okay, the one that is generated is now 7. How come this one is shorter than the original one? Most likely, stop codon was generated that made most of the amino acid not to be formed. Not to be attached. Stop codon. So what are these stop codon? You go away. You are away. You are gone. Let me ask you this question. They may ask you that what kind of mutation, like which of them are you going to see? You just need to look at the question and see the one that will generate any of these three. That's all. That's your assignment. This one will generate you go away. That's the answer. This one will generate you are away. Oh, that's the answer. This one will generate you are gone. That's the answer. So just look at it. The one that's generating it is the one that you are going to pick as your answer. So we don't have that luxury of time. I will have shown you. You see how many questions you have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions that you can actually practice with. So when you practice with them and you apply most of these principles, you will be able to be like, okay, this is actually how to do the thinking. You can now go to any question bank of your choice and go and flex your muscle. And don't be afraid to miss the question. So these are the stop codon. Okay, these are just this. Now look at the other mutations, frame shift. Now, I want you to pay attention to the frame shift. Okay, please get the gist on the frame shift. Frame shift means that the frame is shifting. The frame is shifting. And you are like, yes, the frame is shifting. What will they now ask? What is the caveat? What is the secret? The secret is in the number of nucleotides that are deleted. That is the secret. That's the only secret you hold in your right hand. No, it's the left. Left hand. It's just the number you need here for you to go and say this is frame shift mutation. In the exam, they will give you any number. That number they are going to give must not be divisible by 3. Once it's divisible by 3, that is not frame shift. That is in frame. In frame mutation. Not frame shift. What qualifies that question to be frame shift mutation is that what is deleted is not divisible by 3. Now, they give you a question and they say that the total nucleotides that you have in this, maybe in the frame, is maybe, let's say 10,000. And they say they notice that the mutation, like 500 nucleotides were deleted. 500 nucleotides were inserted. Inserted, deleted. That's not your headache. Your headache is the number. Quickly, if you know, because doctors are very poor mathematically. Before you start saying that, they gave me 500, I think it's divisible by 3. See, go to the calculator aspect of your screen. Press it. Once you are getting decimal, it's not divisible. Once you are getting decimal, don't go and prove. There's nothing to prove there. When we get to the Weinberg principle and the likes now, you will start seeing some people even ask us, how come 2 divided by 0.5 is equal to 4? We've experienced all manner of stuffs. All right. So you get the calculator and just divide. Once it is divisible by 3, that is not frame shift. That is the only secret I need you to pick. The question we mentioned that something is deleted or inserted. Don't be carried away. Look at the number. Anyhow they quote the number, check it. What is deleted or inserted? Is it divisible by 3? Once it is divisible by 3, that is not frame shift. That is in frame. And they won't really ask the in frame. What they will test is the frame shift. So it must not be divisible by 3. So 500 inserted or deleted, the answer will be frame shift. Can you see? The frame has shifted. And the thing is that the amino acid will change. That is the problem. Let me show you so that you understand it. X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, A, B, C. Permit me to illustrate it like this for you. And the question just said that 2 nucleotides are deleted. The 2 can be this. See what I just underlined? The 2 can be this. If these 2 are deleted, then what you will now be having is X, Y, Z, X, A, B, C, A, B, C. That's what will be left. The frame has shifted. The amino acid, they have changed. The frame has shifted. The amino acid have changed. Let me show you the in frame. For the in frame mutation, the whole codon, because that one is divisible by 3, the entire 3 deleted. Maybe 6 deleted. What you will now be having is X, Y, Z, A, B, C. I still have the same amino acid. However, some amino acid are lost. Whereas in frame shift, the amino acid have changed. So just look at the number. Now tell me, what is difficult in you just defining? Just look at it and divide and pick your answer. That is all we need from you. I never thought the question wants you to look at it this second way I illustrated. Look at it and you will be fine. You may get the question wrong the first time. Relax, look at it again. You will get it right. Oh, that's all you need. All right, any other thing you can go and be adding or removing. This is splice site mutation. I don't think this is the right time for me to even talk about the splice site, because in the first question is, what is splice? What are we splicing? What are we cutting away? So, what are we cutting away? All right. So, maybe when we look at this area, functional organization of eukaryotic gene, or regulation of gene expression and the likes. Intron versus what do you call it? Exons. You will see the splice site mutation coming out more clearly. All right. So that's just by the way. The questions you have on this mutation, I think I've showed you. So you can look at them. All right. So it's just the number you need there, and look at the context, the way the question is framed. Now, I will be a bit disappointed, sorry to say that, if you are now cramming Duchenne muscular dystrophy, Tay-Sachs disease, cystic fibrosis. No, you are just cramming nonsense if you cram that, because they can give you anything, and the concept is just the concept they will test. So the question you are most likely going to see will be cystic fibrosis. Let me show you something. So you don't need to cram it. Let me see one of the questions that are related to frame shift. Now look at this question. This is related to frame shift. I want you to look at the way the question is framed. Okay, let's look at it. A 34-year-old woman comes to the office due to dysuria. They will try to give her manner of stuff. The patient has a history of recurrent urinary tract infection. Urine sample is collected and sent for culture. This is step 1. You can't be carried away by all this bullshit. So your own is, you just quickly want to add, this is urinary tract infection, Abi. Now go to whatsoever the question is related to. And I'll say gram-negative bacteria isolated from the urine found to form pink colony. So this one is just forming pink colony on lactose-containing McConkey agar. Several days later, the bacteria isolate from a second urine sample are found to form white colony. So from pink to white. So and they are like, what is changing the color? Then I'll say genetic analysis show that the more recent isolate, which is the one forming the white, have a single nucleotide deletion. That is one nucleotide that is deleted within the lac operon. Immediately you see single nucleotide, just is 1 divisible by 3. Immediately you see 1 is not divisible by 3. You will be getting point something. So the frame will shift. This is a frame shift mutation. Can you see? You see? Deletion within the lac operon or insertion. If they say, and they saw something that a nucleotide is inserted, what is inserted? Is it divisible by 3? If it's not divisible by 3, frame shift. If it's divisible by 3, in frame. This genomic change is most consistent with which of the following? Frame shift. Can you see that it's very easy? Now, if you are carried away by this condition, you will just be overthinking in the exam. So the exam is simpler than you think. You just need to see the simplicity of it. So sorry. I
Crystal,
will.
sorry.
Dr. Linda.
Please, I wanted to know how it was not divisible by 3 here.
Okay, for that question, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, look at this nucleotide. What did they write here?
Single
What is
nucleotide.
another number for nucleotide single?
1.
Is 1 divisible by 3 to give you
No.
a whole number? So it's not divisible by 3.
Okay.
So let us assume that now let us assume that the question here say 2 nucleotides were deleted. Is that divisible by 3?
No.
No. So that will also be frame shift. Let us assume that they say 12 nucleotides were deleted. Is that one divisible by 3?
Yes.
So that will never be frame shift.
Okay.
You see that it's just about number being divisible or not divisible.
Number.
Exactly.
All right, sir.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks.
So that's just by the way. I want to make an announcement here. Permit me to make the announcement. Please, you will forgive me. I just beg for your forgiveness. I know some of you don't have the spirit of forgiveness anyway, but we'll still beg you. So we won't be meeting tomorrow. Sorry, we won't be meeting tomorrow. There is something emergency that actually came up. So we won't be meeting tomorrow. I won't be meeting you tomorrow. I will have taken you through the stuff. So but we will find another time for us to go through it. The remaining aspect, we'll go through it. I saw Dr. Arinse Festus. We are bearing the same name. But it's just that I don't have Arinse in my name. All right. So we won't be meeting by tomorrow. Please, it came up and it was an emergency. It's an emergency. Please don't be annoyed with me. Then I will use this opportunity because we are not meeting tomorrow. Try to get our material. By tomorrow, we are most likely going to roll out some level of discounts. Use it. Don't overeat. Even though now our material, they are actually, you can get across to our secretary or message us on the group that how can you. Our material, there is something about those material. Please permit me to quickly tell you. They are long videos. The hours we've spent here, they are actually a bit long hours. But that one, they are actually a bit longer. But the reason is that in those ones, we solve questions. You will be able to see those questions. Just message us on the group. Just message. So you will be able to solve questions. You will see that, okay, this is how I apply this thing to this question. I apply that one and all manner of so. That's all you need, just for you to have an idea. Do you get me? Then I don't want you to prolong your exam writing. Just get the gist, get the point, 1 point, 2 point. The remaining other details, drop them. You don't need them. Please, I beg you, you don't need them. You are prolonging your exam. Quickly write it and enter. Some people are not as good as you. Dr. Linda, they are already in the system. You just enter. Just go get the points. 1, 2, 3, 4 point. 1, 2, 3, 4 point. If I thought you apply those points to some questions, you miss them. Forget it. That's how everybody missed one or two questions. You don't need to be looking for to be perfect before you go and write the exam. You can never be ready. Nobody was ready for the exam when they were going for the exam. There is nobody that was ready because they will just throw one question at you, but 1 or 2 reasoning will make you to be like A, B, C. Oh, this one should be D, and they say the result is how they say you pass. Because the more you prolong the time you write the exam, the more the possibility of you not really passing, because you will be forgetting majority of them. You imagine that within 3-4 days you are done with biochemistry. 3-4 days you are done with another system. 3-4 days you are done with another system, and within 3 months the next thing you are doing is that you are going to write the exam, and you are like, I can't really remember most of what I have read. The next thing is, okay, if I can't really remember, let me quickly revise. You just flip through the pages and you are like, I remember that with respect to frame mutation, frame shift mutation, this is how I will be looking at it in the exam. This one, this is how I'll be looking at it. This one, this is how I'll be looking at. And you just go, they just throw all those questions at you and you just see them flying around. Out of all your questions, you see 10 questions on biochemistry, and out of the 10 you could get 6 right. Have you not tried? But you are looking for 10. You want to know it all because you are God? No, you are wasting your time. Sorry, I just need to talk like this so that you quickly write your exam and just forget about it. Do you get it? So get across to us on the page, and we'll answer you. Thank you so much for coming. I hope that you've been able to get 1 or 2 points or gist from us. Thank you, everyone. Let's enjoy the rest of the day. So if at all anything will happen next time, we'll surely get across to you. We hope that you will come. Dr. Praise Ayeni. All right. Thank you, sir. Bye. Bye.